Am I the asshole here for considering calling off my wedding because my fiancé refuses to sign a prenup after I found out she has a massive credit card debt? So I'm just a middle-aged man supposed to be getting married in a few months to my fiancé. We've been together for 3 years, engaged for 1, and for most of that time, I genuinely believed we were on the same page about life values and, most importantly, honesty. For background, I've worked hard to build a stable financial foundation. I'm not wealthy, but I own my home outright, have no personal debt, and I've been saving and investing since my early 20s. It's been a priority for me, especially since my parents went through a nasty divorce that ruined both of them financially. About a month ago, while we were both discussing wedding costs, I brought up a prenup. Not in a cold or controlling way, I just wanted to protect the life that I've worked hard to build. I was upfront that I'd still be fair and the agreement wouldn't leave her with nothing. I expected an adult conversation, but instead, she immediately got defensive. She said things like, "So you're already planning for a divorce? And I thought that we trusted each other." I tried to explain that it wasn't about trust, it was about transparency and mutual protection. But she shut it down completely. That's when red flags started popping up. She became evasive every time money came up, and I started noticing weird things like credit card offers in the mail, a few missed payments on shared expenses that she said she would cover, and lots of "I'll handle it later" energy. So I asked directly if she had debt. She admitted it. $92,000 in credit card debt. Not student loans, not a mortgage, credit cards. She said that it accumulated over the years from unexpected expenses and a few dumb splurges, but she never told me about any of it until I forced the issue. I was stunned. We're about to merge lives. This woman was about to legally become my spouse, and she didn't think that I deserved to know that she was 6 figures in the red? I told her this made the prenup non-negotiable for me. I need to protect myself, not just emotionally, but financially. I told her that I was willing to still move forward, but not without something in writing that protects my premarital assets. She lost it, called me selfish, said I was turning love into a business deal, said my house and money should be hers too if we're truly a team. Since then, she's refused to talk about the prenup again, and we're barely speaking. Even her mother called me and accused me of humiliating her daughter and being materialistic. All I want is to not be liable for debt that I didn't create, and to make sure the life I built before this relationship is protected. So now I'm seriously reconsidering the whole wedding. Not because she has debt, but because she hid it and then refused to take responsibility and now is treating me like the bad guy for trying to protect myself. I'm almost certain that she could pay her debts since she's a part partner in her friend's business, but she just refuses to. Am I the asshole here for thinking about walking away? In the comments, Sweet Interview says, "Not the asshole. I'm glad you found out before you got married, and I'm more glad you didn't push on purely as you love her. She showed you clearly she cannot be trusted and finds no fault lying to you. That all she actually was wanting was for you to be liable for her debts and for her to get her hands on your savings so she can keep spending. Without respect, trust, and love, there can be no marriage. As hard as it is, she couldn't have loved you if she was happy to lie and trap you with her debt. I'm just glad that you brought up the prenup, or you might never have discovered the truth." And OP says, "Yeah, for me, trust is the most fundamental thing in marriage. That's why I chose to let go." Not the asshole. You definitely did the right thing. It's a huge red flag, and credit card debt means it could go even higher if she spends money all the time that she doesn't have. And OP says, "And the thing is, she has the ability to pay all of this since she's earning passively from her friend's venture. I don't know where her income went." If she was hiding this from you, she likely was hiding more things, and that includes where the money went. She clearly prioritized her comfort over financial transparency. That's a huge breach of trust. Honestly, I couldn't agree more in this situation. Why the hell did you have to pry this out of her? Has she lost her mind? How come it took you piecing all the dots together before, you realized, oh shit, she has 6 figures of credit card debt? Why did I have to come to this realization to get that out of you? Why couldn't I be trusted with this information? And yes, if this has been hidden from me the entire time we've been together and slowly snowballing, what the hell else are you lying about? What else don't I know about you? Now this is a prime example of get the hell out of there, OP. Doesn't matter how much you love this woman, doesn't matter how good for you she is, this is a fundamental deal breaker. You cannot be with someone like this. You cannot marry them. You cannot have kids. You need to run for the hills. I would genuinely say go as far as getting tested for STDs. If she can lie to you about $100,000 plus of credit card debt, potentially, I know it's $92,000, she could easily be cheating on you. I'll say that now. Don't trust this woman. Get the hell out of there and put yourself and your mental health at this point first. Financial health too, absolutely, but Jesus Christ, I'm imagining your mental health is going to take a huge hit from this. And now, onto the update. So I wasn't planning to come back, but a lot of people messaged me, and honestly, it's been a hell of a few days. I figured that I'd give an update, so yeah, the wedding is officially off. After I posted, I tried one more time to talk to my fiancée, well, ex now, and I told her that I wasn't trying to be cold or controlling, I just needed to protect myself. I also said that if the roles were reversed, I'd completely understand if she wanted to do the same. I told her I could still move forward with the wedding if we signed a fair prenup, one that clearly said that her debt is hers and my home and savings are mine if things go bad. I also said that I'd go to therapy or counseling with her if this felt like a deeper trust issue. She didn't take it well. She said again that the prenup was an insult and that I was basically planning for divorce. Then she started crying and said I was humiliating her and that I was destroying everything that we had built over money. But that's the thing. It's not just about the money. It's the fact that she kept a massive amount of debt hidden until she had no choice but to tell me. She didn't have no choice. She wasn't planning to tell you. What the hell, OP? And even then, she only told me because I pushed for it. That's not partnership, that's avoidance. So I told her I couldn't go through with it, and I called off the wedding. It sucked. It still sucks. We told the venue, cancelled what we could, and let people know. Her family is furious. Mine has been supportive, but trying not to say I told you so. I've lost a lot of money deposits, suit, some family flying in from out of state, but honestly, that's nothing compared to what could have happened if I had ignored my gut. She moved out 2 days ago. We've barely spoken. I keep second-guessing myself even now. I didn't want this, but I also don't want to wake up one day in financial ruin, wondering why I ignored every red flag just to avoid hurting someone. Anyway, thanks to everyone who gave advice or just listened. I'm heartbroken, yeah, but I feel like I did the right thing. It doesn't make it easy, just necessary. In the comments, Mardia Thor says, "The other day there was an Ask Reddit thread that asked what you would tell yourself from 10 years ago on a 1-minute phone call. I suspect your future self, 10 years from now, would tell you to call off the wedding." Tururiel says, "The fact that he implied she had the wherewithal to financially cover her debts but chose to hide them until marriage is a red flag if I ever saw one. So she was happy to con her soon-to-be husband into paying her debt, or she's been lying about how well she does from her and her friends' business ventures. I'm glad he was able to get out with only some losses from the vendors, but I wonder what the 'I told you so' from family members was all about. What else was wrong with this woman? She's clearly the one who wanted it to be a business transaction and got upset that it won't be happening. I wish Opie had called her out on that, but oh well, at least it's over." "You're materialistic. You're making everything about money," says the person with almost $100,000 of credit card debts who wants OP's house and a share of his savings. Of course her family's upset. There goes their meal ticket too. I don't get it. Like, am I missing the forest through the trees here? Why did OP trust her so much? I get it. You know, they're about to get married. This is someone you love and you're absolutely tied to. You want to give them the benefit of the doubt? But I don't get why OP, after seeing her freak out so much, after incredible amounts of projection, her saying he was basically planning for divorce, how come he was still willing to marry her? It doesn't make any sense. How many warning signs need to come up all at once to make him go, oh shit, I need to get out of here. This is bad for me. I don't trust this woman anymore. Like he says it in the post, I told her I could still move forward with the wedding if we signed a fair prenup. There's no prenup to protect you from her emotional manipulation, from her family seemingly also wanting your money, from everything that she is laying down on you to try and get you to stay in that relationship, eventually turning into marriage. There's so many more problems than just the money as well. I really hope there's not another update in the future where he's like, hey guys, we sorted it all out. She told me she got rid of the credit card debt. She said she did all of this counseling and that she's fixed. Now we're all good to go with the marriage. It's going to be great. I'm getting some of those vibes from him in this post, where it wasn't exactly his decision to call off the marriage. It was only because of the prenup. Nothing else influenced his decision that much. He wasn't like, yeah, she's acting really out of character. She's just like crazy. And that makes me think, is she normally like this? Is this emotionally manipulative person in front of you acting like she always has acted in this marriage, and you're happy with marrying this person? Oh my god. Good luck, OP. I'm so glad that you eventually dodged that gigantic bullet. And I hope that you get the hell away from her and her family and stay away from them. Good luck. Unexposed is by user ThrowRA Confused Guy, and it's titled, My 28 male, fiancé 26 female, told me that my parents are saying incredibly racist things to her when I'm not around because they don't want black grandchildren. Hello everyone. I'm writing this to figure out what to do or who to believe in this situation. Let me start out by saying that I am white, and my lovely fiancée is a black woman. We have an amazing relationship, and I don't want any other woman in my life. She's also the only black woman I have ever dated. My parents have always been supportive of me, and I have an incredibly strong family relationship with them and my siblings, or at least so I thought. When I was growing up in the Midwest, there weren't really black people around, and the topic of racism never came up really. But I never suspected that my lovely, outgoing, and polite parents would be racist because they even donated money to an orphanage in Africa for like 20 years now through their church. Oh, my sweet summer child. My parents met my fiancé a year ago, but did not take it too seriously because I had a lot of girlfriends in the past, and they probably just thought that she was another girlfriend. Well, last weekend, I announced to them that my girlfriend was now my fiancé on a family Zoom meeting. My parents looked a little surprised because I didn't discuss it with them before, but were ultimately congratulating me. We wanted to have a dinner with them in person to sort of let them get to know their future daughter-in-law, and everything blew up. My mum forgot something for the dinner, and my dad and I went to the store to get it. My fiancé texted me about 10 minutes in, asking me to come back right away because she needed me, and my dad and I turned around. When I got back, she was sitting in my car, I still had the keys, and she was crying and asking me to take her to our house. Of course, I drove her home and told my parents I was sorry, and my fiancé told me what my mum had said to her. Essentially, my fiancé told me that my mum said that she was not supportive of us because she didn't want black grandchildren. A number of other things that she was surprised my fiancé married up, even though I think my fiancé is better looking than me, but I'm a bit more successful financially. Well, I confronted my mum asking what she said, and my mum said that she said nothing even close to that, and that the only thing she said was that she was curious what country my wife was from ethnically, and that my fiancé mistook it. Well, I asked my fiancé more probing questions, but she's adamant that my mum explicitly said these things. I've never known either of them to be liars, but the two people I trust most in the world are giving me completely conflicting stories. I want to side with my wife, but what if she's having some mental episode or something? Come on, OP. Is it a possibility that no one here is lying? I need some effing help. Edit, It could also be a mental episode with my mum, maybe, but neither have mental issues. But they can pop up in people's 20s, like my uncle, so I just said my fiancé might have had a mental episode. Sorry for the confusion. In the comments, a part locksmith says, "The whole situation sounds like a setup to get you out of the way, send you to the shops and to corner your fiancé. Look at the setup when you returned. Your fiancé had fled from an abusive situation. Your mum didn't ring you in alarm saying, 'Honey, the strangest thing just happened. I asked your fiancé where her family is from ethnically and she flipped out and ran away. She's out sitting in the car now and I don't know what to do.' Think about it. If you were in your mum's shoes, wouldn't you be waiting in the driveway for your husband and son to return in order to find out what's happened? Wouldn't you reach out to ask what's wrong? You had to ring your mum for an explanation, and it sounds like she decided to brazen it out. After all, the damage she wanted to inflict has been done. If you don't believe your girlfriend, she'll finish with you and it's mission accomplished for your mother. You're there questioning your fiancé's sanity. Again, mission accomplished for your mum. If your fiancé has somehow constructed an elaborate lie to drive a wedge between you and your parents, then it's a very good one. How likely is it? And why would she bother? I'm inclined to think that your mother is less open-minded than you understand her to be. Challenge her again in person and don't allow for any carpet sweeping. Any attempts to deflect the blame on your fiancé should be noted. She's crazy, she's having an episode, she wants to cause trouble, etc. All red flags. If your mum's telling the truth, it'll be transparent defense. For example, my exact words were XYZ. I meant no offense. I'll apologize and make it up to her. Add sweet replies. Also, the parents just so happened to forget something for dinner, but the dad specifically chose his son and him to go out to get it and leave behind the mum and daughter? Why not just ask the wife and son to get it? Why didn't the dad just volunteer to get it alone? Something tells me that dad is in on it. Are you sure you're ready to marry a black woman? If your honest reaction to hearing about racism she experienced is, maybe she had a mental episode, I don't think you're ready. Are you in America? You don't sound like someone who's confronted the racism your wife experiences just being black, or how that racism will affect you. This is not something you can disregard or assume won't affect you because you don't. As far as your mum or fiancé is telling the truth, I believe your fiancé. If you're in America and your mum asked her what country she's from, that's tiptoeing on the line. Does she have an accent? If there's nothing obvious that says to people, "Oh, she must be from XYZ," then she's from America. What kind of question is that? Your mum was fishing. Just how different are you? Are you at least from an acceptable country? This won't change and won't get better without a confrontation. And honestly, if I was your fiancé and I knew that you were wondering if I was lying, I'd be reconsidering this whole thing. Here Is Gone says, "I'm a white guy from the Deep South. This isn't even a mystery to me. Your wife is not making anything up. Trust her. The ethnicity dodge is old hat, and she's blaming your fiancé for her own racism by saying she was misunderstood." Midwesterners I personally know have a really skewed view of what racism is and often are not aware of how racist they are exactly because they don't get to witness it on a regular basis or be embarrassed by it on a regular basis. No offense intended. Donating to a church for African, Haitian, or Latin missions is the most racist, colonialist, self-aggrandizing thing ever, by the way. It's a disgusting racist banner wave. My parents' church has missions to Honduras and an indoor basketball court for white kids, but won't do a damn thing for the poor blacks in one of the poorest counties in the USA. Anyway, apologies for coming across strongly, but please reinvest in your fiancé by being empathetic to her, and put down a hard line now that your mother's comments were unacceptable. Best of luck to you. Lots of comments, I understand, but definitely good to get as many opinions on something like this as possible. To me, it really does look like this was a setup from the get-go, and everything around that dinner was meticulously planned by these parents in order to separate the two, then have plausible deniability. It seems too well done, it seems too well set up, they seem kind of experienced in this. And OP immediately jumping to, was it a mental health episode? Brother, you're 28 years old. You've had enough life experience by this time to realize people don't just have snap crazy mental health episodes just like that. Like, yeah, obviously, in the most extreme cases we do see that. It's possible, but it's not probable. Why immediately jump on your fiancé for having a mental health episode in this one? That shows that you trust that your parents are not the ones doing the obvious thing, so it's more likely that it's your Why? It's not your fiancé doing this, please. It's not always the most unlikely thing to happen that will explain this situation. Sometimes the answer is right in front of your face, and you just don't want to accept reality. Sometimes we have to wake up that our parents are terrible people, and that's okay. That shouldn't be an indictment on you. I don't want it to be an indictment on you, OP. But jumping immediately to, was my fiancé having a mental health episode? It just feels bad to hear something like that. I don't know. And now, on to the update. Thank you for those of you who reached out with good suggestions and such. I really took everyone's advice on this. However, I really didn't think it was fair the way that I was characterized in the comments, because I love my fiancé and I believe her, but I also loved my mum and had no reason to doubt her either. It's really hard to doubt your parents when they've always been good to you your entire life until this incident. Anyways, I was basically completely wrong about the whole situation. I decided to call my sisters, and I told them that it was an emergency, and we hopped on Zoom together. Well, I explained the crazy story to them, and one of them just let out a laugh, but tried to hold it back. Then I went quiet, and we had a few seconds of awkwardness until she let out, "Are you really asking this?" Then she told me, "Of course Mum's racist." And my sisters agreed with her. They then led me on a 30-minute rant about how Mum would tell them not to marry outside of their race, especially black people, because these marriages won't work out, and no decent man would want you after. Apparently she told them this regularly, and they all married white people anyways. The thing is that I'm 9 years younger than the youngest of them, so I guess I was never included in these talks. She never once mentioned to me about race and who I should or should not date. I don't know why I never received these messages. Moreover, I guess I'm just blind because they also told me that I was the favorite child because I was the only boy. I assumed my parents paid for everyone's first car in college, but I guess it was just me. They were really mad at me for what I put my fiancé through and not realizing things. But I feel like that's unfair because how am I supposed to know that they were mistreated compared to me if I was just a child when they were in college? I guess the close relationship I thought I had was just an illusion. I told my fiancé that I was with her until I die, and I don't care if they all cut me off, and that I'm siding with her always. I should have done this from the beginning because she really is not the kind of person to call people racist, and I never knew her to be super political. After talking with my sisters, I hung up almost crying, which I normally don't do. But I went and told my fiancé everything I'd learned, and we just held each other for a while. She's not really mad at me, but just sad about the whole situation, and we talked a lot about whether to cut my parents out completely or not. I know for sure we will not let them around our future children. Also, my sisters called me back and told me they're sorry that they were so harsh to me, but I really hope I don't lose all of my family from this. I also found out my dad has those internal Ring cameras, and I asked to see the videos from that day, but he told me they were already deleted or overwritten. But I would really like to see it in person for closure. Overall, I'm sorry for the storm this caused on here, but I decided to update just because I keep seeing alerts and messages from people. Maybe somebody will find this helpful. In the comments, Viola's DIL says, "I'm glad that your sisters sorted you out, but remember that this has disproportionately affected them and your fiancé. Even if you weren't intentionally blind, you do need to cool it with complaining about how unfair this is to you." I really hate that he says his fiancé isn't super political, as if being racist is political. It's not. Being racist just makes you an asshole. Or how standing up to racism is equivalent to taking a political stance. Quote, "They even donated money to an orphanage in Africa for like 20 years now through their church." Red alert, red alert. That commenter summed it up perfectly. Just so obvious from the outside. Yeah, I remember that I had a teacher at school say that it was chill for police to shoot a black person in the middle of the street without a trial, but that he wasn't racist because he donated school supplies to underprivileged kids. Oh my god, what? That white guy from the deep south was really on a tear. He nailed it too. He sure did. I live in the Midwest and married someone who's black. My partner prefers to be called black, and I soon found out people that I know were racist. It's true that people from the Midwest never had to deal with other races. We never get tested, and we rarely get called out because of it. You know what? I think it's a positive update, and I hope that OP learns from this, grows a closer connection to his siblings now, realizing that he wasn't as close as before. Maybe this is a wake-up call to start reaching out to them more, to fostering better connections with them, and having them be the grandparents or the fun aunties to your kids that you're going to have in the future. I don't know if it's worth maintaining a relationship with your parents at this point, OP. I think the safest and healthiest option would be very low contact and keeping them at a very long arm's distance away from you and your fiancé so that you're not exposed to this anymore. Absolutely heavy on the do not let them meet those grandkids. They will mess those grandkids up, absolutely, without question. Otherwise, good luck going forward, OP. Thank you for the story. I really appreciate that you came here and were honest with us. It's great to see that, and I hope that you do learn from this. My husband's childhood best friend asked me for a favor and then humiliated me in front of her family. I'm done being the bigger person. So I, 30 female, have been happily married for a few years now. My husband, 31 male, is honestly a gem. He's kind, patient, hilarious, and loyal. Basically everything you'd want, which after having an ex cheat on me with his best friend, is kind of a big deal. That relationship wrecked me for a while, but I worked hard not to drag the wreckage into something new. And my husband? Thankfully, my husband has never given me a single reason to question him. Until now. Maybe. I don't know. My husband and I have a great relationship, and we're pretty social and often hang out with each other's friends. I get along with almost all of his group, and they've honestly made me feel welcome. Except for her. His childhood best friend. Let's call her C. C has always been cold to me. Not outright rude, just subtle enough to make me feel crazy for noticing. You know that kind of vibe? Every time we've been in the same room, she's managed to talk around me, not to me. I tried. I really did. I've smiled, made conversation, been nothing but warm, even when she's given me nothing to work with. She doesn't show up to group hangouts, but she'll invite him over, and he always tells me. To his credit. He never goes without mentioning it, and he's never weird or secretive about her, but it still rubs me the wrong way. I've tried being friendly, I've tried small talk. Hell, I invited her to our birthdays, barbecues, engagement dinner, and she bailed on all of them. She skipped our wedding too, and she only ever seems to reach out to him, usually when she's just been dumped and needs to talk. When I've brought it up, my husband says I'm overthinking it, that C is just a little odd socially. Maybe she is. Then, a few weeks ago, out of nowhere, she messaged me. She asked if I'd model for her project. Totally unexpected, and I was caught off guard enough to say yes. Part of me thought maybe this is her trying to connect. Maybe this was her olive branch. I even felt a little hopeful. God, I was naive. So I agreed. My husband offered to come with me since he hadn't seen her in a while and thought that it'd be fun to catch up after. When we got there, her family was also involved, and from the second I walked in, it was like stepping into some passive-aggressive Twilight Zone. Her mum and sister kept calling my husband our son-in-law. I laughed, awkwardly. Think I must have misheard it. It only got worse. During the shoot came more of the snarky comments, jokes about the one that got away, and some bonds never fade. Her mum at one point literally said, "We always thought C would end up with him, but life has its detours, I guess." C always imagined walking down the aisle with him. And then, it's sweet of her to fill in though. That's insane. Oh, come on. I wish I was exaggerating. And see? She just kept snapping pictures, smiling, saying nothing. No, hey, cut it out. No awkward laugh, no redirect, nothing. My husband? Clearly uncomfortable. I watched him fidget through the whole thing, clear his throat a few times. He tried to change the subject or come near me. During the shooting. He didn't say much either. Just went kinda quiet. I stuck it out for an hour. I let her take her photos, smiled, posed, whatever. But the whole time I felt like I was a part of a social experiment and everyone else was in on the joke but me. When we got in the car, he was silent for a while. And then finally said, "Sorry about all that. That was weird, right?" And honestly, I didn't even know what to say because yeah, it was weird. It was borderline disrespectful. And the fact that he was there, saw all of it, clearly felt it too, and still didn't step in or pull the plug, it makes me feel kind of alone in this. I'm just tired. I'm tired of pretending this woman is harmless or just awkward. She knows exactly what she's doing. I don't want to start a huge fight, but I'm at the point where I don't want her in our lives. Not as a friend, not as a ghost in the corner of our marriage, no more bending over backwards to be the cool wife. I'm not interested in earning points with someone who clearly doesn't want me around. Anyway, thanks for letting me scream into the void for a minute. I really needed to get this out. Edit. Sorry guys, English is not my first or even second language. Sometimes it's harder to get my points and feelings across. Just to clarify a few things people were asking about, C is actually a photography major, and this shoot was a part of her final project. I'm not a professional model or anything, but I've done some hobby modeling here and there. So when she asked if I'd help out, I thought that it was a casual favor. Why at her house? Well, she comes from a wealthy family and has a fully set up photo studio in her house, which is why the shoot happened there instead of at a regular studio. I honestly thought it would just be her and the camera, not a full audience with drinks and commentary. Additional background, I grew up in a pretty emotionally abusive household, so I think I've gotten too used to passive-aggressive comments and just sort of freeze up. Maybe that's why I didn't react more in the moment, but yeah, it definitely hit harder after the fact. I'll update you as soon as possible. Thank you for all of your comments. In the comments, No Strawberry says, borderline disrespectful? I'd hate to see what you think is actually disrespectful. That was my first thought. Clearly disrespectful. Over the line. Yeah, there was no borderline about it. This was rude and disrespectful as hell. I'm sorry she did this to you. And I'll be honest, I'm a bit disappointed that your husband didn't say anything to stop them. They were purposefully hurtful to you. When they were all saying they always thought C would end up with him, he should have said no. I got what I wanted, and I'm more than happy with my choice. You should be telling your husband it's not weird, it's par for the course. This is just the next step in the very apparent pattern of behavior from C that he's allowed to let happen. Over and over. Every time he left, whether to spend time with her out of the home or over the phone, to spend time with her, she tallied that as a victory. Now it's a matter of pushing the line. How much will he allow at your expense? How easily will he forgive with a short, insincere apology if he finally says something? She's playing a long game and trying to plant ideas. And it's even better when someone else can plant the ideas too. Enter her family. This is not new. This is not weird. This is her normal behavior towards you. Maybe his rose-colored glasses are slipping. You know, it always comes to stories like this where it's like, divorce him, get rid of that guy, what's wrong with him? But how do you provide commentary on situations like this where the authors, like OP, are kind of just letting this all happen? I understand they're venting their frustrations online, but they've seen this happen so many times, and they come to the internet talking honestly and openly about it. I respect that. But how am I supposed to react in a situation like this, if not, what the hell is wrong with him for continuously not backing you? Why would you want to stay with someone like that? And why have you accepted this for so long, and why has there never been any more conversations about this? You're married. How can you not have these conversations? If you're uncomfortable with these uncomfortable confrontations, why did you marry them? What was the point of that? How can you not have these tough conversations with the person that has devoted their life to you, putting you above all else, forsaking all others? How can you not have that chat? Genuinely. Come to the internet, ask us for advice. I'm going to tell you, talk to him. Figure this out. Tell him how his actions make you feel. Tell him how her involvement and her embarrassment of you make you feel. And if he doesn't validate you, and he doesn't recognize that what he's been doing is wrong, and that his avoidance of all of this is wrong, and you don't get the result that you want out of that confrontation, then I urge you to think of possibly leaving that relationship. I think it's okay to give that advice, to tell someone to leave a relationship, a marriage in which they're being constantly disrespected by their husband or by their wife. I just don't understand the backlash. But if she has that conversation with him and things go well and he devotes to change, it should be okay to be like, hey, you don't have to leave them. Divorce is an option. It is not the option. I'm glad that things went well for you. Anyway, that's just my rant, because I see it in the comments. I see you guys being like, you obviously have no life experience, because every time you say something, it's divorce. Shut up. I get it. I'll read your comments. I like it. But at least see where I'm coming from. This situation really sucks for OP though. Like, I want to hug her and be like, you didn't deserve any of that. You deserve so much better than what you've been put through here. And I really hope that he wises up and gets rid of her. I don't care if she's his best friend from childhood. You didn't deserve that, and it's disgusting how she treated you. And now, onto the update. They do a quick recap for those who missed the original. We already went over that. But I'll read this part. Nope. Instead, I got publicly mocked by her family, who joked out loud that she should have been the one marrying my husband. First off, holy crap, I didn't expect that post to blow up like it did. Thank you to everyone who commented, messaged, or just made me feel like I wasn't losing my mind. So many of you asked for an update, and here it is. For those wondering, no, they never dated. He had a high school crush on her over a decade ago. That's ancient history. No, I don't think he's ever cheated, emotionally or physically. He's always very open and honest. We have each other's passwords. They barely see each other anymore in person, maybe once every few months, as we live about 2 hours away. Okay, so here's the update. Funny enough, I didn't even get the chance to sit down and talk to my husband before something else happened. I just can't believe my life at the moment. Anyway, I was still trying to process what happened and sort through my anger towards C, and honestly towards my husband too. And that's when I got a message from my sister-in-law, we'll call her M. I'm really close with M. She's also part of the wider social circle that C floats around in. They're friendly, but not close. She sends me a screen recording from C's close friend story with a simple WTF. It was a clip of me posing during the shoot, no music, but in the background, you can clearly hear C's sister say, C should have been the one to marry him. I lost it. I waited until my husband got home from work, sat him down, and showed him the video. He watched it once, then again. His whole face changed. He finally looked pissed. I couldn't help but think, why didn't he have the same reaction there? So I laid it all out. I told him everything. Every snide comment, every time C made me feel small, how I'd always tried to be civil, how I never asked him to choose between us, but I was done being polite while someone consistently disrespected me. I told him, if this doesn't bother you enough to act, we've got a bigger problem. I'm not going to be in a marriage where I have to beg to be defended. I need a partner who stands up for me, and if that's not you, then I need to rethink this. He didn't argue, didn't get defensive, and I know he feels sorry. Then I showed him the Reddit post. He tried to read every comment. Some of them made him tear up. When he finished, he looked at me and said that he feels like the worst husband. He let this happen right in front of him. He is so sorry. And asked me, "What do you need from me now?" I told him straight up, this isn't just about her anymore. It's about whether or not you're willing to protect this marriage. But I'm not going to feel like I'm second place in my own relationship, so it's either me or her. So we called C. She picked up all cheerful, acting like nothing had happened. We brought up the video, and she immediately got defensive, saying, "Oh, come on, it was a joke. Are you really mad over that? Seriously?" And that's when he stepped in and said, "This isn't just about the video. It's the constant disrespect towards my wife. I didn't say anything before because I didn't want to lose your friendship, and I convinced myself you didn't mean it. But what happened at that shoot? That was disgusting. My wife came to support you, and you and your family treated her like a joke. I didn't speak up then, and I'm ashamed of that, but that ends now. I don't even know why I held on to this friendship for so long. If you can't respect my wife, you don't respect me." She laughed, literally laughed, and said, "Wow, you're really cutting me off over that girl?" Oh my God. I was ready to fight, but my husband calmed me down and said to C, if choosing between you and my wife ever felt like a hard decision, I wouldn't deserve her. We're not kids anymore. You need to grow up. I simply don't want to be your friend anymore. I have nothing else to say. I'm telling you, he can be a gem sometimes. But yeah, we blocked her and her entire family. Since then, he's been checking in with me. Not trying to fix things, just showing up, listening, understanding. He finally sees what I've been dealing with. We've still got some healing to do, but now I know where he stands. And that changes everything for me. To everyone who commented last time, thank you. Seriously. You helped me feel like I wasn't crazy, and maybe even more importantly, you helped him finally see it too. In the comments, Dissatisfied Optimist says, "This is what apologizing looks like. Address your shortcomings, ask what to do to fix it, and act with intent to remedy the situation at hand in order to mend the one at risk. It sucks a guy sometimes has to get slapped across the face with something that is so obvious, but it's how he responded that was redeeming. Having to get your family to join in on you bullying someone is beyond pathetic. I don't understand how people's minds work sometimes. If it were my family who commented, he was supposed to marry you, not her, in front of me and his wife, I would be so humiliated and bury myself in my room and never come out. How pathetic does the friend look that her family thinks she cannot attract a decent enough guy that they hung up on a married man? My takeaway from this is, why did it take this being on the sister-in-law's story for him to finally have a change of mind? Was he content with it until he saw that someone else outside of his immediate circle noticed it? I just don't get it. He avoided this, he buried it, he acted like it didn't exist at the time and immediately afterwards, and he only changed his mind when OP's sister-in-law brought it up. This girl best friend deserves the worst. Her family, toxic, disgusting, obviously, let's throw them in the trash. I could go on about them forever, but why did it take this for the husband to have a change of heart? You know, I'd be questioning that relationship, even though he is doing the work to rebuild it now. Is there something wrong with him? I would think it'd take more than just this moment in time to forgive him for his betrayal. I think he would need some therapy to figure out why he didn't react in the moment and why he didn't notice this earlier. That's not to say that he's a bad person. That's not to say that they deserve to break up over this. Not at all. More so, I want to know where he's coming from, and I think he needs to recognize he needs to do some work on himself. The relationship can and probably will get stronger from this point forward as a result of something as messed up as this. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you for the story, OP. Hope all continues to go well into the future. And yeah, thank you, Jack, for helping me have new perspectives on things and yapping about things in a different way. I've really enjoyed the podcast, and having him there to bounce ideas off of in real time and listen to his perspective kind of helps me have a different worldview going forward, I guess. I'd love to know what you guys think, though. Our next post is by user Professional Rub, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my parents I'm willing to sell them my forgiveness?" So my parents expected me to be independent the minute I turned 18. They gave me the money they had saved up for my education, and they started charging me rent. I was lucky enough to have a partial scholarship, and I found a job in the city my university was in, so I moved there before the school year began. With my parents' money, my scholarship, and my wages, I was able to scrape by. I rarely, if ever, spoke with my parents. I was kind of busy. I guess they decided that they didn't want that kind of relationship with my younger siblings because they were not presented with the same option. They both lived at home all through university and even afterwards. I am 34 now with a decent job and a great girlfriend whom I'll be marrying this summer. I sent my parents and siblings an invitation. They called me to ask why they weren't involved with the wedding. I responded that they hadn't really been a part of my life for 16 years and that I was being nice by inviting them. They said that they acknowledged that they made mistakes when I was young, but that it was in the past and that I should get over it. Against my fiance's advice, I sent them an itemized bill for everything I paid for myself that they freely gave my brother and sister. I said that if they wanted to be a part of my life, they had to ante up. They said that they can't afford that because they're in debt still from helping my siblings out. I laughed at that and said I hoped that I would see them at the wedding and hung up. My family are all getting a hold of me to let me know how much I'm hurting my parents. The thing is, I don't want their money, and I don't want anything from them at all other than their attendance at my wedding. If they can't do that, then I'm fine with our yearly phone call. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Poetry Dreams says, "Not the asshole, but maybe the itemized bill was a bit much, but I imagine it was cathartic for you. Your parents haven't been around in a decade and a half. They have a lot of nerve to ask to be involved. Not being involved in your wedding is just reaping what they sowed. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding." Yeah, it's an asshole move in a vacuum, but this is more about catharsis and appropriate response. I filed this away as one of those really good ideas for dealing with crazy people. Mathematics Duck says, "I'm tired of this sub's black and white view of being an asshole. Sometimes it's perfectly reasonable to be an asshole. Sending an itemized bill is one of those times. They said they can't afford that because they're in debt still from helping my siblings out. I'm sorry, what? Then why did they do it in the first place? Not the asshole, OP. Perhaps siblings can pay back now. If their perceived choice was going into debt to support their adult kids or lose almost all contact with them like OP, it's not surprising they picked debt. Of course, the reality is the choice was a bit less extreme. Let them live at home rent-free and pay what they could without going into debt." I don't understand. I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, don't think sending the itemized list was an asshole move. To me, it's akin to shining a mirror in their face and seeing, "Look at the damage you did to me." How does that feel? Oh no, an itemized list of everything that we paid for your siblings. God, you're a piece of shit. I hate you. How could you intentionally hurt me like this? The truth, I can't deal with it. That's what I'm imagining their reactions to it were like. Just cringing on the inside because, reality, man, reality really hurts. I need some SPF 15 for that one. What brain-broken Redditors are convincing themselves that that was a bad thing to do? Oh yeah, your parents haven't been involved in your life for 16 years, but you retaliating at all makes you an asshole. Shut up. Come on. I'm genuinely surprised OP didn't scream down the phone at them, because that's what OP should have done. And even in that instance, OP would not be an asshole, because those assholes would have deserved it. I'd scream them 6 ways to Sunday, I'd go to hell and back, telling them just how their actions made me felt and how unjust and unfair it was that my younger siblings didn't have to go through the hell that I did, and they have it much better. I don't care about how much debt my parents are in because of that. You two assholes decided to shoulder the burden of debt for those siblings because you realized they would cut you off too. And in that time, you recognizing that you did the wrong thing, you never once came back and said, hey, we messed up. We're sorry. What can we do to fix this? No, you just doubled and tripled down and allowed that to continue while I saw the life I could have had with these two living under your roof. No, it's not okay. I'm not okay. I don't even know why the parents are getting an invitation to the wedding for this, because it's obvious they're not sorry for what they did to OP, and they never once thought, hey, we should reverse the damage. I can understand the siblings still getting an invitation. It's not their fault, but it is the parents' fault, and I don't think the parents deserve an invitation, much less any involvement in the wedding. Not the asshole a million times over. You should have gone harder. And now, onto the update 2 years later. So I posted a couple of years ago about my parents being upset that I didn't make them a bigger part of my wedding. This was after a decade and a half of us barely speaking, and all of us being okay with the state of our relationship. They did end up coming to the wedding, and then going away afterwards. Which was great, and exactly what I wanted from them. My younger sister just got married and I was invited. I don't mind my sister, so my wife and I made a trip of it with my wife's mum. That way, we had childcare for our son, and we could have had a nice visit to my hometown, which I rarely visit. It was a child-free wedding, which was fine by us. However, my wife still did need to take a couple of breaks to pump. We had a cooler for the milk so it wouldn't go to waste, and this caused another shit show. My parents were upset that I didn't bring my son to the wedding. A child-free wedding that they were helping to pay for. I just laughed and said we could get together before we went home, but this wasn't good enough. They said we had to bring him to the gift opening the next day. Pass. We had plans. I told them this, and they were pissed that we were just coming to the wedding and then not visiting. We do not have that kind of relationship. They've only seen my son once since he was born. They've gone on 3 overseas vacations in that time. They both earn good money and have time to travel. They just choose to spend their time and money in other ways than seeing him. I'm not sure how to convey to them that we are related, but not really at all that close anymore. I love them and such, but in an obligatory way. They are my parents. Anyways, that's about it. They seem to have forgotten my facetious offer to sell them my forgiveness. Oh yeah, my brother still lives at home, rent-free. He has a full-time job as a teacher. A little bit of a jab there at the end, okay? In the comments, Sufficient Fruit says, not the asshole. Weren't they in debt? If they wanted to see your child, they would. You don't owe them anything. OP says, they said they were. I have not forbidden them from seeing the boy. Boggers says, so they paid for your sister's wedding. I bet they didn't pay a cent of yours. Looks like they haven't changed in 20 years. You can't choose your family, I suppose. Don't be shocked to find that you, and not your siblings or their own savings, are their retirement plan. And OP says, that's not going to happen. Oh my god. This guy laid out exactly what my mum's relationship has been with me. We had this distance because they kicked me out at 18 and didn't put an effort into seeing me. My mum recently died, and I've been struggling with a lot of weird feelings. I have some guilt for not being more upset, but this guy laid out why I don't. We just weren't all that close anymore. God, I was worried I'm a psychopath. Vastros replies, you aren't a psychopath. In some ways, you grieve the death of the relationship that you wish you had more than the actual death of the person. Of course, you feel bad about that for a while. Relationships are a two-way street. It's not all on you. They had to put in the work as well. They clearly didn't. Take your time to feel kinda shitty, then take your time to feel shitty about not feeling shitty enough. Process your emotions, but don't let them hold you down. I think those are some good words of advice to end that story on. While I myself have very rigid and emotional reactions to things like this, I respect OP for still having an amicable relationship with their parents. And it's obvious that those parents do not care about him. Do not care about him at all. They would rather go overseas, spend money they don't have while they're still in debt, and avoid taking what sounds like a pretty easy trip to go see their grandkid, and then get upset that he won't bring the grandkid to them when he already has made plans. I feel nothing but anger at these parents of his. I don't understand how they can even call themselves parents. They sound like toddlers. They sound like little babies who get upset at the slightest hint of not getting what they want, and upset that the world is not all about them. Again, glad you can have a relationship with people like that, OP, but I would feel disrespected at every turn. And I don't know how long I personally could maintain a relationship with people like that. So again, big respect to you for that, and still not the asshole. Thank you for the story. Our next post is by user Altruistic Bet, and it's titled, "I'm ridiculously attracted to our neighbor. I have no intention to cheat. Feeling so much guilt. I am somehow happily married. We have 2 children together, and I have a stepdaughter, and I'm all around quite satisfied with my love, and I would never want to risk throwing everything that I have away. My husband betrayed me in many ways in the past, but I've forgiven him, and we are relatively good. This is not the first time that I've had an intense crush while I was in a serious committed relationship. I've just always distanced myself from whoever it was as much as I could. The problem is that this neighbor lives right next to our home. I see him every other day minimum. We get along really well. His long-term partner is lovely, and their son is often at our place. He's very handsome. I've always known he was, but I was never this intensely attracted to him. The only difference is that we had been chatting a lot more than usual, and he has started sending me messages. Completely innocent, related to kid-friendly activities in the neighborhood, markets, etc. I guess I'm just looking for advice or anecdotes from people to tell me this is fine and will pass in time." In the comments, Stargazer STL says, "You can do what you already know you need to do, or you can continue down the path you already suspect will lead to infidelity. If you choose to do the right thing, distance yourself. Shut down the texting, simply stop responding, and avoid and minimize conversation. It's up to you." Vibe Siren replies, "I completely agree with this. OP, you're already self-aware enough to recognize the risk, and that's a huge first step. Crushes can feel intense, but they do fade when you don't feed them. Since distancing has worked for you in the past, trust that instinct now, even if it's harder with a neighbor. Maybe mute or archive the texts for a while. No need to make it awkward, just slow down replies, and keep interactions brief and kid-focused when you see him. Guilt is a sign that you care about your marriage, and that's worth honoring. You've got this." OP replies, "You're sweet. Thank you. I probed during this dinner and asked him what he would do or want me to do in a hypothetical scenario if I had an intense crush on a coworker, and he said he'd want me to tell him if it's something that persisted because it's a sign that something was wrong with us, and in my case, a sign he hadn't done enough to make things right. So I guess I'll see after limiting our interactions. I'll tell him if it persists." Reality Hurts asks, "Does your husband know he's texting you? It doesn't matter if innocent. Honestly, it's easy. Just transition to always replying in a group chat. He sends you kids' activities, reshare in the group chat with him, his wife, and your husband. My husband and I have an unspoken rule of always group chat. Eventually people get the hint, or just see it there on top of their texts." And OP says, "That's not a bad idea, honestly. Thank you." I agree with those suggestions, and I wonder if her bringing it up to him makes him suspicious that there is something going on behind the scenes, and whether he should address that or not. But I'll just say what the others have said. I think you do have to start distancing yourself from that man, and you do have to start replying in a group chat to keep everything above board. I think the husband will suspect something in that moment, but it's not worth falling for an intense crush for someone when you're married. I really feel like that should go without saying, but from my experience of reading these stories for 6 years, you have to say it for some strange reason. You have to point out the obvious to people, because if you don't, they'll come back with an update saying, hey guys, I messed up because you didn't state the obvious to me and I'm an idiot. Anyway, hope OP takes the advice. And now, onto the update. I actively avoided said neighbor during the week, put everyone in a group chat. He was still sending me messages. Again, nothing nefarious, same innocent topics, but I stopped answering. He came by to ask me if everything was alright yesterday and if he did something wrong. And I realized I just felt fine. I'm not attracted to him anymore. I still think he's very handsome because I have eyes, but I have no attraction to him whatsoever all of a sudden. He didn't even do anything, really. I just feel the same way that I used to before. So this intense crush lasted a whole 2 weeks. Very glad I didn't tell my husband or do any of the extreme advice given to me by so many people in my first thread that would have ruined what is otherwise a very nice relationship with very lovely people. In the comments, Forsaken Ad 1300 says, "Are you tracking your cycle? Not just when your period starts, but the entire cycle. Use an app and log when you feel strong emotions and see if you start noticing recurring trends. The fact that your crush started and stopped so quickly, me think it's related to your cycle." OP says, "I'm 6 months postpartum and my cycle is not resumed yet since I'm breastfeeding. I could totally see it being a hormonal thing though. I said it in my previous post, but I know for sure that it's not the fact that he's handsome that triggered the attraction, because I had known him for 1.5 years and the crush was very sudden." Dogs Duck says, "Oh, it's probably very much hormonal too. Right around 6 months, currently both 15 months postpartum and 5 months pregnant, I feel like an abundance of myself came back. Like I suddenly felt out of the trenches and so much more in tune with life. I think I commented something about it being okay to find people attractive, and it can still be just an innocent, wholesome thing, and got downvoted on your last post. People can get very up in arms about such things on Reddit, but you truly never seemed even remotely on the brink of cheating. The thing is, I would probably just tell my husband, and he'd be like, uh-oh, in a completely silly way. Agree that the neighbor is handsome, and we'd both understand on a deep level that nothing unwholesome would ever actually occur. You sound like you've got your ducks in a row, and also now you've successfully navigated it and don't have to worry." Quote, "He came by to ask me if everything was alright yesterday and if he did something wrong." That's kind of an odd response to having one-on-one texting transferred to a group chat. You might not have been the only one with a case of limerence. OP says, "He used to chat with me while I was out gardening or chilling in our garden, and I straight up stopped. I started gardening really early in the morning, but I didn't hang out in the patio anymore because our patios are right next to each other, and when the weather is nice, he works sitting at theirs." Honestly, yeah, I feel like his response of coming over and saying, "Did I do something wrong?" I feel like he was feeling something as well. He was feeling like cheating. Definitely a bit of an emotional affair was starting to blossom there, if I had to put money on it. And I wonder if he was looking for kind of a green light to keep pushing by asking her if he did something wrong. Like, what do you mean? One-on-one texting went to a group chat. Is that not enough of a hint that this is inappropriate? Stop texting me one-on-one. Let's just go back to how things were before. Very weird behavior by him. I don't like it. And I'm glad that OP shut that shit down quick and got rid of him, because what is going on? This is inappropriate. That's unacceptable behavior. Let's stop it. And I agree with OP's approach to this as well. It's good that OP recognized that there is bad advice given on Reddit. Shockingly, Reddit can give bad advice. And that her actions were appropriate. It is okay to have crushes on people. It is not okay to act on them. Shutting it down like this was the right thing to do, and I'm glad that she did it, and I'm happy that she came to share that with us, so thank you, OP. Thank you for doing that. My boyfriend keeps letting his friend come on our dates. Okay, How we got into this predicament in the first place is that my boyfriend just really likes his friend Liam. He's like a brother to him, he saved his life once, etc., but he's on all of our dates. I even brought one of my single friends on a date, so we could double, and Liam and her don't date, so that failed. I've honestly asked my boyfriend why Liam is on our dates, and he says that Liam is lonely, has no one else, and he has no siblings or girlfriend. But then my boyfriend kinda guilts me because, I know this sounds awful, Liam is the effing package for guilt. His mum died when he was young, then his dad and him don't talk anymore, so Liam just doesn't have anyone else to talk to. I honestly think my boyfriend is guilt-tripping me, and I don't think I can do this relationship anymore. If nothing changes, I'm leaving. This has gone on for 3 months. Like, sure, I feel bad for Liam, but I don't really know him, and it's not my problem. It's also not just dates and movie nights that he's here, going to the mall. He's there. Where is he not? In the comments, Actua literally says, "Girl, I can't believe you lasted 3 months with this. Go find a nice young man who wants to take you on a date without his homeboy sitting there being an awkward third wheel at all times." I went on a first date to a festival once. His friend called, and date said, "Yeah, we're at the festival, come by." I stuck out the date and even made friends with both dudes, but that was 100% the end of our dating journey. Lamau, bless his heart. I bet he looked back years later and cringed. At least he made some friends. He really was a sweet young man, and if he didn't pull that, I would have been very interested in seeing where we went romantically, but it wasn't meant to be, and I'm currently with someone who wouldn't do something that rude. OP, it's worth leaving someone nice who does things you don't like, because it opens the possibility to finding someone nice who does less impactful things that you don't like. There's always going to be some level of compromise, but that should be something like, I don't eat peanut butter because my partner is allergic to it, not, I never go on dates because my partner's friend is always there. Something that doesn't affect your ability to connect or your quality of life, you know? I agree with that. I think there does need to be a reasonable middle ground and not your life perpetually being like, it's just you and me and our friend Steve, do Steve. Just that on repeat all the time. Steve doesn't have to be everywhere. And yeah, it's messed up, but you're right. Steve is the perfect guilt trip. That is a very sad backstory. I feel bad for Steve. Life has not been kind to Steve. Absolutely. That doesn't mean we bring Steve everywhere. I know his name is Liam, but come on. Liam, Steve. You can be the perfect victim in all areas of life. Absolutely, I understand that. But you can't be in my life every day because of that. There's no justification, I don't care. And if he doesn't see sense in that, and if he continues to guilt you into letting Steve, leave him. It's not cool. It's not alright. And he's not going to change. If that happens, screw him and screw Steve, not the arsehole. And now, onto the update. I broke up with my ex. I'm gonna call him X. I went to where we agreed to meet up, and guess who he brought with him? You guessed it, Liam. I was very annoyed at this point. I told him I wanted to speak with him privately, and he brings effing Liam. It's very uncomfortable to break up with someone in front of their best friend, but I was too pissed. I told him, I said I wanted to speak privately. He said, say it in front of Liam. Dude, what do you mean say it in front of Liam? Yeah, say it privately in front of Liam, huh? Eventually I just get annoyed and say, that's it. I don't want Liam always here in our private life, on dates, everywhere. He basically said, remember what I told you about Liam's circumstance, blah blah blah? I said something like, I'm sorry, but I don't give a fuck about what Liam's going through right now. This is about me breaking up with you. Meanwhile, Liam is just standing there, looking confused. I'll get back to this later. So we basically get into a fight in this park, and it gets to the point where I tell him that he manipulates me into not kicking Liam out of dates, and about everything he told me Liam went through. Like a brother to X, saved X's life, dead mum, dad absent, no siblings, friends or girlfriend. And then X looks like he got caught or something, and Liam gets angry, saying things like, "What did you tell her?" This is all really funny and really awful at the same time. It turns out none of what my ex told me was true. Liam has a fiancée, has a real brother and sister, and his mum is not dead. So anyway, definitely broke up with X. Like 40 minutes later, Liam DMs me, basically saying that X told Liam that I wasn't comfortable being alone with X, and that he thought that I wanted him to be on the dates. Sir, what? He said the reason why he agreed is because his fiancée is living in Europe to finish up her study program abroad, and that he had nothing better to do. So X just flat out is a liar. I'm glad I broke up with him, mad that I got lied to, but oh well. This was honestly not a turn of events that I was expecting, and I had to get it out somewhere. End of update. In the comments, by OP, he never explained to Liam or me why he did it, but the vibe I'm getting from what Liam has told me, and my own feelings on the matter, are that he was trying to frame Liam into looking like Liam was on the dates with me, so X can show Liam's girlfriend photos or something to break up Liam and his girlfriend. What is wrong with this man? Seriously, what is wrong with this guy? That's the second runner-up. I personally think that X just did it for a sick game or something. As perfect as it would have been for X to be gay for Liam, sadly I don't think that's the case, but who knows honestly. Me and Liam had talked every once in a while the past few days, but I'm definitely not friends with him. I'm not really sure if I can trust him, because I don't know enough about Liam to know that he's not a pot stirrer himself. Liam was definitely kept in the dark about a lot of things, so it's not his fault or anything, but I don't know the friendship that I walked into. Based on what Liam said, he feels baffled. When this topic first came up, he said he wouldn't know why X would do something like this, but a tiny bit of him is not really surprised. I don't know what he did before that to earn not surprised, because Liam never really gave me a straight answer. What I can take of it is that he's really curious of X's intentions. Hopefully this can answer any questions you might have, and if anything else needs more clearing up, you can ask. Verbal Thermodynamics says, "That's weird as hell." Okay, but she said that it's gone on for 3 months. How do you not know enough about either of these people to even hazard a guess about why after 3 months? Like he might be trying to take these pictures to send to Liam's girlfriend for 3 months? Look, sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. That's my take on the situation here, and some people will do very insane things for not a good reason. I'm genuinely willing to believe that the intention was to break him up with his girlfriend, and he had to spin this elaborate lie for it. Some people are genuinely that insane, and they will live by their convictions and do something like this, thinking that their convictions are righteous and what they're doing is correct and will lead to the outcome they want. But to everyone else on the outside, like Liam, Liam, and OP, he's just an absolute melt. He's lost his goddamn mind, he's not living in the same reality as us, and he needs to be shunned and told to go away. I would be so surprised if Liam keeps him in his life after this. Genuinely. I'm glad that OP broke up with him, but that went in such a weird direction that I was not expecting. Like, the whole breaking Liam up arc and lying to the both of them. Wow. Pure cinema. I have my hands up in the air right now. That was cinema. Thank you for the story, OP. Sorry you went through that, but that was hella entertaining. Our next post is by user Many Honeydew, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for bringing my neighbor's kid inside my house during a hailstorm?" So we had a hailstorm with about 10 minutes notice. I went outside to pull the car into the parking space to try and avoid damage. While I was outside, the neighbors were leaving, and I mentioned that there was a hailstorm coming, and they said that they were going to the store. Okay, not what I'd do, but I didn't say anything. 2 minutes later, they're gone, and I'm covering my plants with a heavy tarp and going inside. Their kid was outside and couldn't get in. The neighbor's car was not in sight. I told him they said they were going to the store and asked if he could get inside. He said they'd be back fast. I went inside, but took a peep out the peephole. I could see him running back and forth between the overhang by the front door and the carport area in the back. The storm immediately kicked up, so I opened the front door and yelled to him, because it was so loud, to come in my house. He ran inside, and I told him, "These are my kids, you can sit here. Do you need a phone to call your mum?" He didn't know her number off the top of his head, and his device was smashed. I don't know if it was from the hail or not. So I watched the peephole, and when his mum pulled up, I opened the door for a second for him to wave at her. The worst of it lasted about 10 minutes, so when it let up, I ran him out to his parents' car. My husband said that I overreacted, but he was like 12, running back and forth trying to find cover, which he couldn't find because the hail was going down and sideways. We had dead birds, messed up trees, and dents on our car hood. Some of the hail balls measured over 3 inches in diameter. Did I do the wrong thing by bringing this kid inside? I really don't know what else I could have done, and there wasn't any time to ask. Do you feel safe coming inside? Because he couldn't hear me, and the hail was coming in sideways, lots of wind. My kids saw how bad it was when I opened the door and said that they thought that that was the right thing to do. My husband was watching TV in the middle of the house and didn't see how severe it was, as he never got up to check. Did I do the wrong thing by bringing him inside during the storm? In the comments, Relevancy Box says, "I thought you were going to say the neighbors were upset, which would be strange. But do you say your husband is the one giving you shit? That's uber strange. Not the asshole." Yeah, didn't expect the upset was coming from inside OP's own house. You're asking the wrong question. So your husband couldn't be bothered to look at how bad the weather was, help you prepare your property, or help watch the kids during the storm, but has time to criticize you for something he had no involvement in and where all parties involved seemed cool. The kid, your kids, his parents, and you. Right? So isn't the question, do I have an asshole husband who doesn't help at home, even during natural disasters, and undermines my self-confidence and belief in my own decision-making abilities every chance he can find? Not the asshole. OP says, effing bingo. Why am I feeling awkward and nervous because of his stupid take on things? My eldest was responsible enough to put the dog collars with tags on in case the storm was bad enough for us to get separated without being told. Why is she more responsible at 12 than he is as a grown man? You're right. I'm going to guess you're either the primary influence in raising her, or he's also contributing the types of expectations for a she child that result in responsibility. OP says, both. Is that something that you intend to continue, or are you using this post to determine if you should make a different plan? Asking the important questions here. OP says, maybe an old dog can learn new tricks. After reading some of these replies, we're definitely going to be having a talk about what our expectations are during a weather emergency. I can't believe that I'm having to teach a grown man this, but I shouldn't complain. It was my choice. I didn't realize that it would get this ridiculous. Look, no blame to OP. It's absolutely understandable the situation that you're in. I'm going to assume that you assumed that he had some bad habits that you thought he would grow out of as life progressed, as you had kids, as, he would naturally take on more responsibility. That's an understandable assumption to make. And I would hope that that is the natural progression of things, that a man like him will naturally want to care more about his family. Because why wouldn't you? That is normal to care about your family. So it doesn't make sense to me why you're having to teach an old dog new tricks. Why are you having to defend yourself in this instance? Why did he not just naturally do the right thing? He did just sit on his ass that entire time and not help you when a hailstorm was coming through, and that led to the car getting dented, the car hood getting dented. His inaction directly led to damage that could have been alleviated and avoided had he helped out. But no, you took on that responsibility yourself and did everything to protect your property and another child that you determined, hey, I need to help them. And his parents were like, hey, sick, thank you for that, I appreciate it. And he's like, you're an asshole for doing that. He's not right in the head. He's not a good parent. He's not a good person. He's shown himself to not be a good person in this instance. He's doing everything that you don't do in a situation like this. He is the antithesis of a partner. This is a situation where you genuinely question, how much more of this can I put up with? Is he going to ever get any better? Is he going to want to get better? Am I enabling him? To answer your initial question, am I the asshole here for bringing my neighbor's kid inside my house during a hailstorm? No, obviously not. But your husband saying that you overreacted is crazy to me. In what way did you overreact? That was a perfectly normal reaction. You let a 12-year-old inside of your house during a hailstorm that killed birds and did immense property damage. He could have gotten hospitalized had he been outside being pelted by 3-inch diameter hail balls. How did you overreact? You're just trying to help someone. Much like the ex in the last post, your husband doesn't appear to be living in reality, in the same reality that we live in. Something is wrong with his head, and he needs to get it fixed fast. And now, on to the update. So we went to Mother's Day at his sister's house. They all got to talking about the storm. His sister's house took a lot of damage. I said we only had minor damage, and my younger daughter piped up and said the neighbor's kids was lucky that we were home. This prompted follow-up questions when my daughter said that I brought the neighbor's kid in. The family was like, oh my god, why would they leave him out like that? He could have been seriously hurt, etc. My husband said that it wasn't that bad and repeated his crazy white lady overreacting sentiment again. Holy shit, what an asshole! You'd want your kid left out in that? If it can dent a car, it can dent a head. Crazy white lady? No. Responsible mum and neighbor, etc. 18 people all agreeing with me and basically reiterating the points brought up by the commenters here. But because they're his family and we're saying everything in a joking manner, he couldn't get mad. On the outside. I know he was pissed, but hiding it. I still have to work on things being 50-50 instead of 99-1. I don't believe this will ever happen, as women and girls do $10.6 trillion in unpaid labor annually, which would be the second largest economy in the world. And if he says crazy white lady again, he's going to find out what crazy means. Thank you everyone for your feedback. I've taken it to heart and will be working on not doubting myself and getting my confidence back. Thanks again. Update over. The craziest thing here is that he'll have 18 people all agreeing with you, being like, what is wrong with you? You are so wrong in your opinions. You don't understand what could have happened to that child if he was outside. And he will double and triple down internally and be like, no, it's everyone else that's wrong, not me. I didn't see the hailstorm with my own eyes because the TV was more important. But they're all wrong and I'm right, and I'm gonna scream at my wife when I get home because of this. I don't know. If it were me in OP's shoes, I wouldn't stay with someone like that because the influence it has on the children, being in a household like that, is too toxic. It's not right. It's not a good household to raise children in. And the fact that OP is saying, a fight is on the way. Why is a fight on the way? He's gonna find out what crazy means. My husband calls me crazy white lady in front of my family and kids and puts me down all the time. I don't know. Maybe reevaluate your life and the circumstances you put yourself and your children in. That's all I'm saying. Thank you for the story and thank you for the update. Our next post is by user Katita, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for not sharing the good tea with a friend? My friend was over visiting. I offered tea, she said yes. She's not much of a tea drinker. She normally drinks cheap herbal teas, which are not actually tea anyway, and isn't picky. I, on the other hand, have a cabinet full of teas of various types, imported from around the world. I offered her a decent selection. A nice oolong, a nice white tea, a high-quality herbal, a good flavored black. She pointed at something else in the cabinet and went, "What about that one?" I hesitated, then said that it's pretty expensive pu'er I had imported, and she probably wouldn't like it anyway. She said I'm being stingy and could let her taste for herself. But pu'er is a polarizing tea anyway, and this stuff is not cheap at all, and it would be difficult for me to get more of this brand. I know I can make multiple cups from it, but I hadn't been planning on doing a pu'er week right now, and really didn't want to waste it on someone who probably wouldn't like it anyway. She doesn't even like strong black tea. For those not in the know, my family has compared the smell of pu'er to fish and dirty socks. I like it a lot, but I understand that it's not everybody's thing. Now she's being passive-aggressive at me. Am I the asshole? In the comments, CleanPatient8809 says, not the asshole. Especially since making that particular type of tea for her would mean forcing you to use or waste your whole supply in a short period of time. Weird that she wasn't happy choosing from the ones you offered. OP says, I think she was just kinda nosing at my interesting looking tea cabinet, which I get, but when I visit my fellow tea-drinking friends, even if I see something shiny, I'll generally keep my eyes to myself unless it's offered. Tea can be very expensive. If it had been a different tea, I might have given her anyway, but I just couldn't bring myself with the pu'er. Info. Why open the cabinet and give choices? You're the host. You choose what to serve. It avoids awkward conversations. OP says, the tea was in the cabinet. I opened it and took out several options to offer her, including a herbal. She looked in the cabinet while I was doing so and asked about the pu'er. I hadn't thought to pre-remove the tea from the cabinet so she wouldn't see that there is other tea, because most people will choose from provided options. Yeah, you really shouldn't have to pre-remove the options you offer your guests, unless your guests are toddlers, because that's the kind of silly shit that I've had to do for my 2-year-old. Adults are typically better about hearing no. I agree. I thought the good tea would be the drama and gossip, but, good tea can be pu'er as well. It's weird that she's standing her ground so hard on this one, especially if she doesn't like strong black tea. Like, it has been stated over and over again, to her face, if we drink this pu'er tea, you're not going to like it, and I'm going to be wasting my money. No, let's drink something else. That's it. That's end of story. If she thinks you're an asshole for doing so, she's welcome to her opinion, but she is wrong. She is being an asshole herself for not taking no for an answer. That's it. You're not an asshole, OP. She is. She needs to stop. And now, onto the update. So I was judged not the asshole on the post, but there was definitely a lot of very lively discussion about tea snobs, and appropriate nosing in cabinets. I very much appreciated all the comments. As it happened, about a week after the post, our friend group WhatsApp started talking about, you guessed it, tea. Specifically, somebody went, what do you mean different types of tea? Like verbena? And another friend, not even me, went off about how that's not real tea. Look, my friends and I agree on the important things in life. Also, I'm waiting for people to wonder why the hell we keep on talking about tea on our WhatsApp group. It doesn't actually happen that often, I swear. Anyway, I jumped in and said, how about we have a tea party? And I'll let y'all try the fancy stuff. So we did. About 10 friends came, including the original friend who was cruelly denied the good pu'er. We tried 8 different types of tea, including some variants of the same type, so they could compare the flavors. For example, 2 oolongs, 2 English breakfasts. The big hit was the chai, lol. Afterwards, some people asked where they could order some of the teas for themselves. And as for the friend from the first post, she tried the coveted pu'er and did not like it. On the other hand, her heart opened to the genmaicha. One of my other friends did enjoy the pu'er though. Everyone had a good time and agreed that we should totally do it again. I'm now sitting here and sipping my 3rd steep of the leaves with great satisfaction. In the comments, Otherwise Topic says, good for you. I think it's great that you could work it out in a positive way, and everyone now gets to enjoy tea parties. OP says, it was a really positive ending to the whole thing. It was also really fun hearing my friends comparing the tea flavors to each other and commenting on them. People also brought finger foods and cookies and stuff to make it a proper party. What an awesome idea to have a tea tasting party for your friends. This is the nicest possible update, and I'm glad that one friend who didn't like the pu'er discovered genmaicha. That's such a sweet ending to the story. I love tea more than anything. It's my blood. Yes, I was born in England. I have managed at different times to give up smoking, sugar, carbs, drugs, alcohol, but the one time I tried to give up tea, I wanted to die. It's the one thing I can't live without. I'm happy that other people love it too. Please keep having tea parties and sharing my love. Yeah, I like the way that this ended, and who is honestly surprised that she didn't like the pu'er tea? Seriously, if she's told to her face that she's not going to like it, she needs to believe people and not be like, actually, you're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. But whatever, she annoyed me. Glad that she was proven wrong. I'm glad that OP had a lovely tea party, and I'm the same. I need my 1 to 2 cups of tea a day. This story was for you, tea-loving seal. Keep commenting about the different tea that you drink every day. Love to see it. Hope you're having a lovely cup of tea. Hope everyone's having a lovely cup of tea today. I know I am, that's for sure. I'm not going to give up tea anytime soon. My father-in-law led a smear campaign against me and came between me and my wife. I'm lost. How do I forge forward? My 27 female, wife 29 female, and I are not in a good place. It's not a fun feeling. I feel context is important here. We're college sweethearts, married for 6 years, and have a daughter, 4 female. Our constant hurdle is family. It's like having to validate our relationship. I always thought that my wife was worth it though. I haven't felt for anyone else the way that I do about her. My wife's family is very old school. They're conservative in their beliefs and values. My father-in-law, 59 male, is treated as the captain and looked to as the head. My relationship with him was never smooth. Not for my lack of trying. Him putting up with me only came after my daughter. I don't believe he's ever thought that I was good enough for his daughter. I wasn't his first choice or in his top 5. I don't share their gated community or fancy schools backgrounds. My father-in-law always had some backhanded remark about my upbringing. During a family gathering at my in-laws last Christmas, my father-in-law's iPad went missing. He blew a fuse and accused me of stealing it. His reasoning was there was a period of time that I was alone in the house. I was never actually alone in the house. I was helping my mother-in-law, 58 female, in the kitchen because people were kicking back their feet while she was slaving away for a big family. There was no reasoning with him. He called the police and actually told the officers how a real man would own up when caught, but was never taught to be a man. Another backhanded remark. I was raised in a household of women. My father-in-law expressed once that only a man can raise a boy into a man. I spoke up for myself during his rantings. The whole situation was humiliating, but I had nothing to hide. The officers had to de-escalate and stood around until everyone went their separate ways. My father-in-law did a smear campaign on social media, accusing me of theft and saying how I wasn't family. Some real vicious stuff was said. It impacted my life. I lost a job opportunity because his posts came up in the vetting process. The company was rebranding and didn't want drama associated. Essentially, I was shunned from the family. There were those who didn't agree with my father-in-law, but they wanted to stay out of it. No one wanted to cross him. I was no longer welcomed on my in-laws' property until I confessed and apologized. My wife still attended everything without me and took our daughter with her even on New Year's Eve. I wanted to spend it with her and our daughter, but she chose to appease her dad and keep tradition. During all of my father-in-law's accusations, the smear campaign and shunning, my wife didn't lend me support in any way. She bowed to her dad and would tell me to just apologize. She said I was being stubborn by refusing. It wasn't about apologizing. My father-in-law wanted me to beg. I'm not a prideful person, but I'm not getting on my knees and pleading for forgiveness for something I didn't commit. My wife says that she was only trying to keep the peace instead of being right. Once, my father-in-law badmouthed me around our daughter, and my wife never spoke up. She claimed she didn't hear him. I don't believe she would have done anything either way. Our daughter kept me afloat. I put my foot down on her attending gatherings after the badmouthing. My wife accused me of escalating by withholding our daughter. I felt my father-in-law tried to influence my child against me. My move was for boundaries. I wasn't asking my wife to cut off her dad. I know how important family is to her, but we are married. We have a child. We made vows. I only wanted her to be there for me as my partner and my best friend. She abandoned me. I had more support from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, 35 female, than I ever did from her. We fought a lot. We were pushed to a new level of argument. I held everything in, and we would blow up. My wife said she had dealt with her dad her whole life, and she learned sometimes it was better to just yield. About a month ago, my name was cleared. My sister-in-law found the iPad in her son's 9-male room. He confessed to taking it. He was afraid to say anything after my father-in-law's reaction to me. My father-in-law has never apologized or publicly recanted. He acts like nothing happened, and the rest of the family followed suit. He had my mother-in-law relay that I was welcome to their home again. Others began inviting me to functions. I've declined for myself and my daughter. I'm not holding grudges or using my daughter as punishment. I saw who my father-in-law was clearly. I don't want any involvement with him unless necessary, nor is my daughter allowed to have unsupervised visits with him. I don't want her exposed to the ugliness. The situation remains a sore on my marriage. My wife won't talk about it. If I try, she says I'm throwing the past in her face. I'm just trying to open up to her about how everything still affects me. She feels that I'm not working towards keeping the peace. My father-in-law falsely accused me of theft, led a smear campaign, bad-mouthed me around our daughter, and was enabled by some family. This is me keeping the peace. I don't know if this post is the right call. My wife wouldn't apologize, but there's no talking to her about this in any real way. I'm lost. We've never been so disconnected. I'm in love with her, I wouldn't have stayed if I wasn't, and I want to work on our marriage and do right by our daughter. I don't regret my choice on my father-in-law, but I am questioning if I'm making things worse. I feel alone, and I feel I need a fresh perspective. How do I move forward as healthily as possible for my marriage when I don't know where to step? In the comments, Peter the Great says, "This problem is much more simple than you think. You think you're fighting a battle against your father-in-law and can somehow magically win him over and everything will be okay. Your father-in-law is actually an asshole, but the real problem is that your wife is actually a shitty partner. Keeping the peace is just code for, I want you to be the target so I'm not inconvenienced by the conflict. Your marriage is not healthy because your wife is not on your side. She's stated quite clearly that she'll go along with her father. You can't change that. You can decide if you want your life to be like this forever." Princess Shira says, "Same. This is a wife problem. I'm very sorry for what you're going through with that situation. It sounds horrible." Invalid Programmer says, "This is also a mother problem. She let this affect her daughter. OP, do you really want your daughter to learn that your father-in-law or wife's behavior is correct? You need to set a hard boundary. Your wife needs therapy and to set boundaries with her dad or cut him off. What happens if your father-in-law accuses your daughter of something? Just go along and don't rock the boat? Or what if he accuses you of something again? This isn't about working on the marriage. Your wife needs to. I'm going to be honest. You're fighting for a relationship with a woman who doesn't care about you. I know it will hurt, but it's in your own best interest to two-card her here. Counseling or divorce. You can find a situation she doesn't care to solve by yourself, and you can't stay in a relationship where your wife is fine with her family demeaning and excluding you without apology. Wife, things haven't been good for a while now. You've chosen your family over our family unit. You did nothing to defend me against your family, and you want me, the wronged party, to forgive and forget when an apology was never even offered. I'm willing to fight for our relationship, but I'm not willing to rug sweep anything. Let's be honest, your father has never liked me, and if a situation like this happens again, as our marriage currently stands, we won't make it through. I would have never let my own family sit there and treat you the way your family has treated me. I would have never allowed them access to our child while they were talking about you behind their back. The past few months have been difficult. I've been fighting a battle with your family as you did nothing to support me during that time, and your ask that I take hits that I didn't earn or deserve to keep your family's peace demonstrated how little you care for me. I'm not apologizing to your family as I did nothing wrong, and if they want a rug sweep, I'm perfectly fine not having a relationship with them. As for our relationship, I've talked to a divorce attorney and a marriage counselor. Think it over and decide which path you want to take, because I want a partner in my life, and your actions these past few months have shown me that I don't have one. Part of me wants to believe that he knew this all along, and that he knew what he was marrying into, and that he knew what he was signing up for. That she was always like this, and that he vetted the family, and everything else, yada yada yada, but that's too many assumptions to make with not enough information about this situation. Obviously, everyone else's relationships, everyone else's marriages are all different, and I can't paint a broad brush across the spectrum. But what I will say is that what she is doing and what she has done to OP, this entire marriage, by the sounds of it, is wrong. And whether she recognizes that or not, she needs to apologize, and she needs to set the record straight and finally piss off from her family and stop being under their reins. She is hurting her daughter, she is hurting her husband, she is hurting those closest to him, and supposedly it looks like she doesn't care. Where is this all coming from, and why is she like that? I can't fault OP in this situation at all. He's done nothing wrong. All he's done is try to protect himself and protect his family, and what does he get in return? He gets smeared for it. He loses a job opportunity. He has his reputation irreversibly damaged, online and in person. And what's the crime? What, not stealing an iPad? From that asshole, that piece of shit loser father-in-law that everyone is scared of. What is the solution to a situation like this, where your wife shows that she is unwilling to ever be on your side? What kind of marriage is that? Is she ever going to be willing to change? Is she ever going to be willing to stand up to that family? Or are you always going to come in second place? Because if not, why stay in a marriage like that? You're always going to be the villain, and whether you like it or not, you're going to be painted as the villain in your daughter's eyes as well. I think it's time for ultimatums. It's time to lay down the absolute law and put boundaries between her and her family, whether she wants them or not. This is not a 2 yes, 1 no situation. This is a, do you want this marriage to survive or not? You need to wake up. Because if not, I'm gone. We need to fix this, and you need to want to fix this. None of this is acceptable, and if it continues, you're going to be the reason that we're broken up, not me. I'm so upset for OP, on behalf of OP. This is such a tragic situation that I wish I never have to experience in my lifetime, and I really do hope that they both come out good on the other side of this, but where they stand right now, it is not looking good at all. And now, onto the update. I, 27 male, want to thank everyone for the support. I appreciate it. The original post was the first time that I put everything out there and didn't feel dismissed. The situation with my father-in-law, 59 male, was extensive and largely unaddressed by my wife, 29 female. It occurred to me that not being able to open up to her, I didn't know how to communicate with her anymore. The feedback I received was a real eye-opener. My issue isn't isolated to my father-in-law. This isn't solely a spat with my in-laws, it's an issue involving my wife. Things with my father-in-law are what they are. I'm not seeking a deeper connection with him. We're in-laws, nothing more, nothing less. And he made it abundantly clear in his smear campaign that I wasn't family, but a hurdle the family needed to overcome. My concern is my wife and daughter, 4 female. They are my family and my focus. That said, I realize I can't make my wife do anything. I can't make her communicate with me, I can't make her instill boundaries with her dad. I only have a say for myself and our daughter. I know something needs to change. Our marriage can't be sustained this way. It's not good for anyone, especially our daughter. After getting my feelings out, I've felt more resolved with what I needed to do. I told my wife about the original post. She's seen it and some comments. She wasn't thrilled, but to her credit, she didn't automatically shut me down like usual. She was open to hearing what I had to say. I don't know if ultimatum is the right term, because I wasn't trying to force her to choose anything. I'm just trying to implement boundaries for our daughter and our marriage. I told her that things needed to change because our marriage couldn't survive like this. No one should feel alone or abandoned in their marriage. The options were either couples therapy or separation. She didn't take to separation well. She seemed repulsed by it. She said she knew that we weren't in a good place, but she didn't realize that was where I was at and how we made our vows and our bond is supposed to withstand. She feels her dad shouldn't take away from us. I told her that I wasn't taking separation lightly. Our vows do mean something, but whether she admits it or not, she checked out on our vows in favor of her dad. It wasn't keeping the peace. It was me drowning while she was on her dad's boat and never tossed me a line. Our issues are bigger than just her dad. Our current way isn't it. My wife chose therapy. We found a therapist and it's officially scheduled. I want to be hopeful, but that's not something I've let myself feel for a bit now. I don't believe she was only telling me what she thought I wanted to hear. I saw the reality of it hit her when separation was put on the table. I asked her if marriage counseling was something she really wanted. I'm not talking about this sometimes it's better to yield thing she said about her dad or for keeping the peace. I was asking what she genuinely wanted. She said it was, and that she doesn't want to lose our relationship or our family. Some have questioned why I'd want to try working on my marriage. It's not about staying for our daughter. I wanted to make a real attempt for my family and see if things can be mended. I know there's more to my wife than just my father-in-law. I fell in love with her because of who she was as a person. When we met and got to know each other, it was away from her dad. I saw how caring she was for others, even if she didn't agree with their point of view. How decent she was, and how she had a weight off her shoulders with distance from her dad's shadow. My wife is the youngest of her siblings, and I would say my in-laws hold on to her more tightly. I didn't know how bad things were until I actually dealt with my father-in-law. It's why she chose a long-distance school and didn't go home on breaks often. Her work moved us closer to home, and she was back into the fold fully. My father-in-law's smear campaign was our first major obstacle following that. I'm in love with my wife, but I'm not speaking out of blind love. Whether we're together or not, I want what is best for her. Part of my hope for marriage counseling is that she regains sight of herself separate from her dad and sees that boundaries for herself aren't crossing a line. Maybe we can recover together and come out better for it. I know we got married a little young. Trust me, we'd heard our fair share from the skeptics, but I was always sure of my wife. Marriage wasn't something that I took lightly. I didn't expect there to be nothing but clear skies. But we should want more from each other. Being there for each other and emotional intimacy are the bare minimum. We should be a team. Our family is the core before any other relationship. To me, our vows mean consciously choosing each other and committing to each other even when it's hard. I don't know what this marriage counseling will bring. It'll be my first experience with therapy. All I can do is take everything one step at a time and reaffirm boundaries for myself and my daughter. I'm not withholding my daughter as punishment or holding grudges. I don't even want an apology from my father-in-law because I know that it'll be empty. I'm just done giving him any more power. I'm protecting my daughter too. To those who haven't experienced something like this, I hope you never will. And for those in a similar struggle, I hope for nothing but the best for you. You are not alone. Thank you for showing me that I'm not either. In the comments, Ivorleaf says, if your wife is open to therapy and is honest during the process, then expect to see a lot of trauma surrounding her childhood and relationship with her dad come out. As adults, we can project the traumas and dysfunctional relationships we experienced as children onto our partners in hope of healing or regaining some control around a specific situation or trigger. I would expect that you will also see some strange parallels between the communication style that she has with her dad and how it has become projected onto you. Hopefully your therapist will help you find healthy ways to communicate openly and honestly with each other. It's positive that your wife was open to it, and I'm glad that this is a fairly positive update. I hope you can both work through this and find happiness, together or not. Good luck. This is so true. I realized I was doing it in my relationship. We did couples therapy for an unrelated issue, and it started to come out anyway, and I realized it was something that I need to work on. I will not say that I'm totally cured of it or whatever, but even the awareness of it makes me look at situations far less rigidly, because I can be like, oh, that was how my parents handled things, but that doesn't mean that I have to do that too. Let me ask my partner about XYZ instead of just making assumptions. I'm Nickelhead says, I would adamantly insist that father-in-law will only see his granddaughter if I am there. There would be an ultimatum with him if he ever says anything negative about me in front of her. He will never see her again until she is 18. I believe that if she is a good, level-headed person, that therapy should open her eyes to how shitty her dad's behavior is. Good luck. And OP says, yeah, that's locked down. He isn't allowed any unsupervised visits with my daughter. He lost that privilege when he decided to include her in his vendetta and badmouth me around her. I am Big Mish says, I think the part that I'm having a hard time with is the fact that your wife didn't defend you. My mother pulled similar shit with my wife, and I called her out on it hard. And I'm also afraid of my mum, but I'm not financially dependent on her. And that's the kicker. There is no power that my mother holds over me that would make me choose her over my wife. I'm also a woman. I wonder if for your wife, there's some sort of power her father is holding over her. It doesn't make what she did right, but gives some clarity if you want to continue dealing with this in the long run. If there is, this might never get resolved even with therapy. For all intents and purposes, it looks like a good solution. I hope it works, though the trauma from her childhood and the trauma that she still experiences in this day and age may still have such a hold on her that therapy won't change anything. That's me speaking out of my ass, absolutely. And I hold out hope that things can get better. But at the same time, I recognize that it's so hard to break conditioning. It is so hard to go against those that seemingly have so much power over you, even when you're married and, you have to be more loyal to your partner than those that have somewhat power over you. I don't know how she's going to deal with it. I hope we get another update in the future saying that everything went well. Again, I will hold out hope. I do think this can be fixed. And I love that OP is sticking in there and doing what is right by him and his daughter. At the end of the day, we need to protect her. We need to make sure that she is not corrupted by this evil family. I'm going to say it, they're evil. They are evil for what they are collectively doing to OP. I don't think they deserve to be around that grandchild at all until she's 18. I'm on that boat. If it were me, I wouldn't be letting them anywhere near her. They don't deserve that because they are only going to damage her. Thank you for the story, OP. All the best of luck. Our next post is by user Read Financial, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here, still, because I grew from the divorce and became the father/husband my ex wanted me to be? I was the asshole. I know it. My ex and I, in our 40s, married in college in our early 20s. We went from living in the dorms together to being married and living on our own in another state due to my job. We enjoyed the honeymoon period with each other along with being young 20-somethings in an exciting new city. Not long after being married, she was pregnant, and our first child was born a few months after our first anniversary. She was a stay-at-home mother. I picked up overtime to cover everything. She matured way faster than I to support the baby. I was still closer to being a college dorm student than I was a husband/father/equal. We had constant fights about how I wasn't doing enough to help or supporting her physically or emotionally. I kept trying to tell her how I was doing enough, how I worked 80 hours last week, how I changed a diaper last week, how I cooked my own meal, just for me, so that she wouldn't have to, etc. She would explain her problems and how I could help her, but I didn't hear them. I just wanted to argue. I used weaponized incompetence before that term was coined. In my mind, I was working hard and she was just being unrealistic and couldn't see how much I did. In reality, there was far more work than I realized. My ex was drowning and asking for help, and all I would do was argue with her about how there was no way she was drowning. Things would improve every few months, Partly because I would do a little more work, partly because she just internalized her frustrations and stopped initiating conversations about them. We had another child during this time, but this soon added even more stress and the fights grew even worse. Eventually, she said she couldn't handle it any longer and moved in with family a few hours away. I tried to win her back through love bombing, again before I knew what that was, and figured that she would come to her senses. And so I was extremely surprised when I got served the divorce papers. I couldn't believe it. I never cheated on her, I didn't abuse her, I had no vices, we loved each other. How could she be divorcing me? Yet she did. And when we met with lawyers, I was taken off guard by how much resentment there was towards me. Where had that come from? We agreed to every other weekend visitations. The first time I had to take care of my 2 toddlers on my own for 2 whole days was an eye-opener. I had done it once or twice when married, but she had prepped everything. Pre-made the meals, picked out the clothes, cleaned the house, etc. I was still learning how to consistently do the laundry and wash the dishes every day and pick up after myself. I had gone from living with my parents to living in the dorms with roommates who constantly cleaned to living with my ex. I knew how to take care of a house, but I never had to do it all on my own. Someone else always picked up the slack. And now I was fully responsible for that and for 2 little lives for 48 hours. I remember being completely overwhelmed and hit by a huge wave of empathy and understanding of where she had been over the past few years and what I had done to her. I apologized to her, but that only made her angrier. So I grew up. I vowed to make the most out of each weekend with my children. I learned how to cook. I actually liked cooking. I learned how to braid hair. I bought tons of unnecessary toddler supplies and packed them all in the stroller just in case my kids needed something on a walk, etc. On my own time, I picked up new hobbies and went to the gym. I read the non-fiction, how-to/relationship books that my ex had been begging me to read. Overall, I worked on myself and tried to become a super dad to my kids. A couple of years after the divorce, I started dating again. Being a single dad in my late 20s was a turn-off to a lot of women, and I was rejected often. But I found myself being matched with older single mums and really connecting with them. I eventually met my now wife, a single mum whose ex had abandoned her for someone else and wanted nothing to do with their children. And to her, I was the perfect match. A loving dad who worked hard, did the household chores, and was devoted to her. I learned from my mistakes in my first marriage and took all the criticisms my ex had made about me to heart and improved from them. I became the husband my ex tried to make me into. I still slip up and still have a lot to learn, but I do that with the support of my wife. I would still see my ex every other week, and the relationship improved somewhat, but there was still an undertone of resentment in each interaction. She went back to school, got a job, and raised our kids as a single mum. I tried to get more visitation as they got older, but she fought back, and due to them living too far away for daily visits, I only got longer summer visits with them. I have no idea about her dating life, I never ask the kids about her, but she is unmarried. I know very little about her life. She could be very happy and enjoying everything, but within our few interactions, very little of that shows. Now, our youngest is a senior and going to graduate, and I've been talking to my ex more to prepare for it. It's mostly cordial, but occasionally hints of anger and passive-aggressive comments come out. I have thanked her for being a wonderful mother to our children and raising them, and again apologized for never being there or taking her seriously all those years ago. I still feel like the asshole though. Sometimes because of how she understandably treats me, and other times just from my own guilt of how I treated her when we were married. She's about to have an empty nest after devoting her life to children when I failed her, and I am living the suburban family life that we had planned to, but with someone other than her. Am I still the asshole for learning from my divorce and becoming the husband I should have been with my ex? In the comments, Three-Wheeler of Doom says, "Not the asshole for growing and learning and apologizing. However, your ex probably doesn't see it the way that you do. You see it as you getting a rude shock, divorce, and just realizing how much you would let your ex down, and that you needed to become an adult and be able to parent your kids. And to your credit, you seem to have done exactly that, which is admirable. Your ex might see it that you refused to listen to her, refused to deal with any of the issues that she was struggling with, and made her life a lot harder than it should have been now that she sees you with your wife, and the perfect life that she should have had with you, but you wouldn't or couldn't give that to her. So she might be feeling that she wasn't good enough, or that you didn't love her enough to do all that you do for your wife now with her. That sort of resentment can be lifelong, because every time she sees you, she asks herself, why wasn't I good enough to be treated the way that he treats his wife? Which means you will always be the asshole here for her. Of course, that's just speculation on my behalf, and I could be totally wrong, but I had a friend who went through something similar, and 20 plus years later, she still gets upset because she feels that she wasn't good enough. Recyclopath says, you need to understand that you will always be the villain in her story, that you hurt and abandoned her so deeply when she was at her most vulnerable, that you can't fix what you did or didn't do, that becoming a good husband and father only hurts her more because it means you were capable of being that man, just that you didn't care enough about her to do it for her. Whoever you are now will never fix who you were or what you did. The second best thing you can do is accept all of that. The best you can do now is to be upfront with your now grown children. Be brutally honest about how you failed as a husband and a father with your ex. Help them to not make the mistakes that you did and to understand that part of their family history. This is just a rock and a hard place situation, or like Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill. No matter what you do, OP, yeah, you're always going to be the villain in her eyes. You do nothing, she's vindicated because you were always going to be that guy and you never changed. You changed and be a better father and a better person. Why couldn't he have done that for me? What an asshole. What, he's doing it for someone else? How come I'm not good enough? He's a piece of shit for not changing sooner. Like, she's fine, and it's perfectly acceptable to have those thoughts, because I get where she's coming from. But you really need to separate yourself from these dark thoughts, because what is it going to do for you? If she's going to suffer and never move on from this and always hold it against you, that's her problem. That's her struggle to deal with. You should not be concerning yourself with that. It's good to think about it. It's good to understand where she's coming from and treat her with the respect that an amicable co-parent deserves, but you're only going to be hurting yourself if you continue to dwell on it. What's done is done. You've learned from your mistakes. That's all that anyone ever wants you to do. You're a better person because of it, and you realize that you did wrong, why you did wrong, how you did wrong. It's amazing that you went on to make a better life for yourself and that you recognize that that's what you did, and you're doing what you can to not repeat the cycle with your children. I don't think we can ask for anything better from you. I understand that you were an asshole, but I don't think you're an asshole anymore. I don't think you are still an asshole. No. And now, onto the update. Thank you for those who continue to reach out for updates. While nothing has changed from my previous post's original question, I will always be the asshole in my ex's eyes, I will have guilt for that for life, will continue to try to make amends with her, and will try to do better with my wife and kids, there was an event that brought a little closure recently. My youngest child, now 18, with my ex, graduates this month. My ex held a party for them at her house, which was attended by immediate family and friends from both sides. It was the first time this many members of our respective families had been together since our wedding 20 plus years ago. We hosted separate parties for our oldest child's graduation 2 years ago. Overall, the party went very well. Our daughter was celebrated and felt appreciated. She said it felt a little weird having her two worlds collide, such as when her step-siblings hung out with her maternal cousins, or having both sets of grandparents spending lots of time talking with each other and laughing. It brought a pang of guilt that my daughter didn't remember a time when her grandparents were close friends, as they were before her mother and I divorced. My wife and my ex spent time with each other and laughed a few times. My wife won't tell me what they all talked about, so my guess is they shared some common war stories about me. My ex and I had a chance to talk as well. We mostly talked about the kids and how proud we were of our daughter, how excited she is to move for college, and what our oldest child was up to. She asked what was next with our family, and I gave updates about my younger kids and their future graduations and activities. She returned that she was excited and a little anxious about having an empty nest. Her job is mostly the same, but going well, and she's planning on traveling. She also casually dropped the name Mark during our conversation. Mark and I talked about doing yada yada yada, and I had no idea who she was talking about. Maybe he's someone she's seeing, but she didn't elaborate, I didn't pry, and the topic moved on. I suspect we each assume that our kids inform the other parent about our respective life updates more than they actually do, because it didn't seem like she was trying to drop major news on me when she said it. And there was no Mark present at the party, so I really have no idea what their connection is. Near the end, I again thanked her for being a wonderful mother to our children and briefly re-apologized for my actions years ago. She replied kindly and apologized for fighting so hard against me when I requested more visitation a decade ago. Note, initially, I only saw the kids every other weekend with short summers. I pushed for more visitation after I remarried, had moved into a larger house that could fit everyone, and was in a position to take care of the kids for longer times. I asked for 50-50, but ended up with 40-60 after a bitter mediation. We returned to talking about the kids, and the conversation mostly ended after that. And that seems like it. I don't see the need for other updates. I doubt I will see much of my ex. The kids, now adults, are both doing their own things, have their own cars, and can visit their individual parents and siblings as they wish. There are no more visitation drop-offs between my ex and I. There will probably be college graduations and maybe eventual weddings, but beyond that, our interactions are mostly finished. While we both had caused each other frustration, pain, and resentment over the years after the divorce, and I will always have my guilt for failing her in our marriage, in the end, we successfully raised 2 happy children who were starting their own adult lives. Each of our lives took unexpected paths to get here, but we both got here nonetheless, and are proud that our children made it through while feeling loved. My wife and younger kids are also happy and doing well. There are tons of updates with all of them, but those aren't relevant to this subreddit. I'm not the asshole to them, I'm just dad and husband. Although sometimes they're embarrassed and reluctant to admit to having those associations with me. In the comments, Canyon Moon says, I still don't understand you not moving to where your kids lived to be able to get a better custody schedule. You described it as a bitter mediation, but you also say in the original post that the schedule wasn't 50-50 because you were too far away for day visits. Honestly, sounds like you still want your ex to be a villain in that specific scenario, since she very clearly isn't in every other aspect. I'm glad your ex seems to have made peace and seems to finally have the time to get her own proper social life. Whoever Mark is to her, it seems he makes her happy. Good for her. OP replies, I worked in a niche industry when we divorced, which did not exist where she and her family lived. She was not working at this time, so the only money that was being made was from my niche job, which I had moved up in. I spent those first few years learning new skills to switch to a more prevalent but adjacent industry which had jobs nearer to my kids. During this time, visitation was only weekends and a few weeks in summer because of how far I was. I eventually was able to move closer, and by then was remarried, had a house that I could fit my full family, and a work schedule I could adjust around my kids' schedules. I could support 50-50 visitation at this time, but my ex refused any change to visitation, both when I talked to her about it, and finally when I went through my lawyer. She admitted now that she was still resentful at that time, and that was her only reason to fight my request. She knew that I made those changes to be closer to my children, and at the time, didn't want to admit that I was a good father to them. She may not have been a villain, but she was, by her admission, reacting out of anger and not what was best for the children. I understand why she did it, but I was doing what I thought was best for the children, and based on where we all are now, it was the right decision. Canyon Moon replies, That's certainly changed from your original explanation. I tried to get more visitation as they got older, but she fought back, and due to them living too far for daily visits, I only got longer summers with them. This sounds like the court did not agree that you could easily support 50-50 due to the distance. OP replies, there was no court review because we agreed to the new schedule in mediation. After moving closer, I lived about an hour away. It would not have been easy to do overnight weekday visits due to school, but it would be doable. Instead, I received more weekend visits, a longer summer, and many school holidays and breaks. So not quite 50-50 for me, but it did result in less daily transition for the children. Other split families have been granted 50-50 visitation in these circumstances, but we avoided the court and came to an agreement in mediation. Neither of us were totally happy, hence bitter, but the kids ended up better off for it. There were many other concessions given by both of us in mediation, which really aren't relevant to the story. In the end, this is what we agreed upon and the kids benefited. My best friend died, and now I'm rethinking my relationship with my girlfriends. Hi, I, 41 male, have a daughter, 13 female, who is the light of my life. Her mother passed during childbirth. For the past decade, I've tried dating, but with disastrous results. A year before my daughter, let's call her Stephanie, was born, my wife Joy bought me a border collie puppy who I named Flip. Somehow, it was Flip who managed to keep me sane the first 2 years after my wife's death. He was my best friend. He guarded Stephanie and protected her like he was an extra dad. Steph loved Flip so much. Every vacation, every trip, she insisted on bringing Flip, and of course that was more than okay with me. Last year, I finally struck gold. I met Donna, 39 female, who helped fill the void in my life with Joy's passing. She is warm, kind, and intelligent. She took to Stephanie like a champ, and even though she doesn't like dogs, Flip won her over. Everything was looking up. Donna moved into my house a month ago. Flip developed cancer, and I had to take him to the vet to be put down. I'm not ashamed to say that I cried almost the entire day. Stephanie too. She's devastated. When I told Donna, she said, "Oh well, time to get a cat now so we can both enjoy a pet." What? I couldn't actually believe what I'd heard. I told her that my best friend died, and she's so damn dismissive. She replied that it's just an animal, no biggie. My heart shattered all over again. Of course, Steph heard the exchange and now doesn't want anything to do with Donna. Won't talk to her. I made up the guest room and told Donna that she's sleeping there for a while. She got mad and is now not speaking to me. I'm thinking of breaking up with her because she can't see how much Flip meant to us. She seems unable to see that my emotions are valid. Flip was a dog, but more importantly, he was family, and she can't see that. Right now, I'm heartbroken and exhausted, and I want to sleep for a whole week, but I needed to vent here. Thank you for reading. I appreciate you all. In the comments, Specialist Bit says, why would she want to get a cat with a mindset like this? It's just an animal, no biggie. Says no cat lover ever. She's a fraud. Yeah, this is shocking. I'm not really a dog person, but I can look at someone mourning their pet and understand what that's like because I've been there. This is actually the crux of the issue. She lacks empathy, which is a real red flag. It's okay to not be a dog person, but to dismiss OP's feelings so easily is alarming. Has she fooled him into believing that she's someone that she's not? If I were OP, I would seriously be rethinking this relationship. This is the truth. My boyfriend doesn't like dogs. I'm a crazy animal lady, any animal, and I love it, but I had a very extra special dog in my life for a while. He passed away suddenly, and it was horrific for me to cope with. During the time that it happened, I was with my ex still. Eventually we broke up, and I started dating my current boyfriend. We started dating about a year after my dog passed away. It's now been almost 5 years since he passed away, and it can still hit me like a ton of bricks from time to time. I mean, I sometimes just get hit with a huge wave of grief, start sobbing, and basically, it still hurts me pretty bad. My boyfriend holds me, lets me talk about my goober, and he doesn't do his usual I don't like dogs face or mannerisms because he knows that it's pretty serious to me that he's gone. I share pictures and videos of him, and my boyfriend says nice things about him. even though I know internally he's just doing that for me, that matters. He sets aside his feelings because mine are bigger when I think and talk about my dog. I'd probably become a rabid bitch if he said anything negative about my goober. That dog was a part of my damn soul. I will never be the same without him, and my boyfriend respects that he was and is an important piece of me, even though he doesn't get it when it comes to dogs. Yeah, and that's really what this boils down to. She might have been, the gold that you struck in your life, OP, but did you strike gold? Or, is the mask slipping a bit? She's helped you fill the void in your life with Joy's passing, yes, but she's lacking compassion in this situation, and is this a one-time thing, or is this going to be who she is as a person? Do you want to continue a relationship with someone like that, seeing as this appears to be the first real test of the relationship? If your gut feeling is telling you, run, maybe it's time to run. Who knows? And now, onto the update 2 days later. Hey, I'm more than stunned by how this thing took off. Thanks to all the well wishers and those who messaged for their words of support. It means a lot. For those crying fake, I hear you and understand. A lot of Reddit seems to be bullshit. Thanks to all who thought to reply for both the positive and negative inputs. I went to work for the overnight shift, and my partner Tonya, worked with for 4 years, had a present for me. A small chocolate cake shaped like a dog bone and Flip's name on it. I just about lost it. Tonya is the best and is a great co-worker. Her husband is a good friend too. We talked and I showed her the post. She's no fan of Reddit, but understands that I needed to vent. After work, I picked Steph up from school and we had a long talk in the car. I told her I was going to talk to Donna about how her words hurt us and asked if she wanted to be a part of the conversation. She said no, but added that she trusted me to make the correct decision. My kid is awesome. I sat Donna down after she came home and we had a heart-to-heart talk. She grew defensive and almost got up and left, but I told her if we couldn't talk this out, then there was no future for us. Then I showed her the post. As she read the comments, she started to cry. After a few minutes, we talked, and it came out that she considered Flip to be a part of my old life that I had with Joy, and that with his passing, I could focus on our relationship more. To be honest, I almost lost my shit right there, but I managed to stay calm. Anger is a secondary emotion indicative of deeper trauma, so I kept that in mind during the conversation. I told her that Joy and Flip will always be a part of my life, just like Stephanie, and nothing can change that. I said that they are part of me and helped shape me to be the man that I am today. If she can't recognize that, understand my pain, and feel empathy, then this relationship is doomed. To make a long story short, she's moving out and we're taking a break from each other for a month or two to reflect on our priorities. Not that I need that. I know my priorities, my needs, and wants for a relationship. She must decide if it coincides with hers. And that's it. It's late and I'm exhausted. Not working tomorrow, so I'm going to help pack Donna's things. Thank you so much for your support, folks. To all those animal lovers out there, always trust your heart, and may God bless you and keep you. In the comments, Edia says, I'm sorry, I had a feeling it was going to be like that, but better to find out now before she starts turning that energy onto your daughter, and people like this surely do. Yup, I knew as soon as I read her latest response that she is a master manipulator. It was almost a classic Davo response. Deny, gets defensive, attack, gets up to leave, reverse victim offender, starts crying and blames her feelings on OP, his previous life. I hope OP does not get back together with her. There's only more of this in store for him. Edit to add, I reread the post, and the fact that she says she considered Flip to be a part of my old life that I had with Joy, and that with his passing I could focus on our relationship more, shows that she still does not have any empathy. She's more concerned with moving on and erasing his past than she is with his and his daughter's feelings. Huge red flags. She has shown that she will not respect your wife's passing. She was not seeking to add to your love, but to replace what was already there. I bet she was wanting to replace his daughter too with a child of their own. Hey, your daughter's an adult now. Why do you have to keep in touch with her? She's a part of your old life. The lady showed her true colors real quick. Hopefully he'll find someone who understands that the pass on wife and dog is in his heart forever. I'm stunned that she articulated her insecurity and jealousy. She didn't have the sense or tact or kindness to respond appropriately. Probably a good thing, or OP might have been sucked in for longer. Yeah, sounds like, Flip dying was a blessing in disguise in this instance, because if that didn't happen, who knows how long she could have gone without revealing the fact that she's a bit of a monster, this one. In a way, it's the last act of protection by the goodest boy. I would have dumped her. To say all of that and, be like, we can just get a cat. That dog didn't matter because it's a part of your old life, and I don't like your old life. That would break me. That would really break me if I were in OP's shoes. And then, when confronted with this and given an opportunity to fix things, just to go full Darvo, no, that's completely inhumane. OP, you were so much better off without this woman in your life. But thank you for this story. Thank you for sharing that with us. That is a lot. Our next post is by user Pretend Mode, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my nephews again for free? I'm 29 female, child-free by choice. My sister C is 27 female, has 2 boys, ages 3.5 and 2. We live close to each other, and I've been in their lives since the beginning. We are each other's only family. We come from a broken and dysfunctional family. I love the boys, but they're a lot of work, especially on top of my own career and social work, and my personal reasons for not wanting kids of my own. I watch them /help out /babysit probably 10 to 20 hours a week currently, and it's getting exhausting. The times I've been needed have slowly increased, and over the last 7-ish months, it's been like this. At first it was C looking for a part-time job, going to mandated courses to get unemployment, occasional movie nights with friends, etc., which I was okay with, but now I spend most of my free time at their house. Lately, the cause has been that her best friend's mum is dying and C needs to be there. She's a single mum, and I get that it's hard, but recently I feel like she's using me, and I rarely see my fiancé as we both work shifts that change all the time. Sometimes when she's asked me to watch them, and I've had some other plans, C sends me a voice message of the boys crying, missing me, guilt-tripping me, saying it's such a shame that I care more about myself than them, telling me she would ask someone else if she had anyone else to ask, saying really mean things about me being selfish for wanting to enjoy date night when she has to choose between her kids and her best friend's dying mum. I could handle it if that was all it was, but now it's also affecting the next time when we meet. When I get there, the house is a mess, there is nothing to eat, and they happen to have a day for a shower/bath, or C casually mentions that I need to put together a gym bag or something similar for them for the next day. These weird extra things that are obviously revenge. The first time this happened, I assumed that she would be grateful that I helped where I could, but it wouldn't be an issue if I didn't have time to do everything. I was quickly proven wrong. Before she got home, she casually asked if I had done the extra things, and when I hadn't, at least not all anyway, she suddenly had to stay a little bit later. This happened a few times, and I'm ashamed to admit that it took me too long to understand what was happening. I was just glad she was updating me on her estimated arrival time. She usually never did that. Another thing she does for revenge, I feel like it, could just be my exhausted interpretation, is not prepare meals for the kids or even leave money. When I go to the store, she promises to pay me back, but you guessed it, tries to guilt me into saying that she doesn't have to pay. She's also not kept her word about some things that she'd promised, saying she doesn't want to do things for me if I can't help her with the boys. The excuses and backtracking on stuff starts immediately if I don't do exactly what she wants. The latest example, I asked to borrow a dress for a wedding because I didn't want to buy one and we had always borrowed each other's clothes, and she agreed. 4 days before the wedding, I couldn't show up as fast as she wanted on a short notice, so she said I could forget about borrowing the dress. She had forgotten that she had needed it for herself. I had to panic buy one. Last month, she promised to pick me up after leaving my car for some maintenance, and she didn't show up. I was stranded. It took her 2.5 hours to answer her phone and get there. She also had the audacity to huff and puff about how inconvenient it was that she had to drive me. Sorry this is so long, but it's been mind-blowing writing this all down and seeing what I'm putting up with. I'm such a doormat. So yesterday, I told her that I couldn't come today when she called desperately needing me to watch the boys for the evening, and when she started her tirade of me being selfish, I kind of just snapped. I told her to shut up and listen. If she thought that I was that horrible of a human and so selfish, then she had 2 options. Either stop relying on me so much and letting her kids be exposed to my selfishness, or I'll really start being selfish and will not watch them for free of charge ever again, and never do anything extra without being compensated. She hung up without saying anything. After I had stopped shaking, I hate confrontation as you can imagine, I started to really panic as I feel like I just lost my last remaining family member. My fiancé said that it was a long time coming and I should have stood up for myself ages ago. But he's biased as he loves me. I don't really have time for proper friends outside of work colleagues, so I don't know who else to ask if I made the biggest mistake of my life. What if I don't see my nephews again? What if I'd just done it a bit longer and she had eased a bit? Am I the asshole for telling her to choose between my options? Edit to add, my 2 examples seem like I ask her or need her for stuff often, which I don't. The promises she breaks can be just as simple as having food for the boys when I'm with them. The dress and leaving me without a ride are just specific events that were easier to explain, but I quickly realized it's not accurate. In the comments, Acid1 says, "You lost an abuser, not a family member. This is an abusive relationship, and she uses every tool of an abuser to control you and your behavior. What she's been doing to you is verbal, psychological, and financial abuse. It is beyond messed up, and it isn't love. Please set your hard boundaries and stand by them. She needs the reality check, and you deserve not to be used and abused. Block her so you don't go back." Icy Worldliness says, "You know that not seeing your nephews again is never going to happen. Your selfish sister has been taking advantage of you for too long, and to her, your standing up for yourself is just a temporary setback in her manipulations. The only way that her behavior is going to change is when yours changes. You need to set some clear boundaries and follow them with solid expectations of how you expect her to treat you. For example, guilt-tripping, name-calling, accusations, etc. are to end. If she tries any of these manipulative tactics, there will be clear consequences, and you need to follow through. If you tell her that you can't babysit and she starts the guilt, you tell her something like no babysitting for a month because of her behavior. Altering your behavior is the only way that you can change hers. Oh, and all those times she needs to comfort her friend with a dying mother, you realize those are just bullshit. She wants free from kid time and is just trying to play on your empathy. Your sister is a Class A asshole." And OP replies, "Thank you. I feel so stupid. I only thought about the friend's mum thing being bullshit like last week. I asked C how she was doing, and she took a second too long to remember what I was talking about. You're not stupid, OP. You're simply overwhelmed by her manipulation. You deserve to be treated far better. Now that you're beginning to see clearly, she will try harder to make you do things that she wants, and she will sound increasingly desperate and then progress to unhinged. You only need to stand by your decision to not do any more free favors for her. You can ignore her if that's better for your mental health, and even block her if you want. She's capitalizing on the previous abuse that you suffered to manipulate you. You do not have to let her do this. She's the one who chose to have kids. She needs to manage her time and choices to make sure her own kids are taken care of. She can ask their father for help. She can ask any of the other friends she's been spending time with. She can research with community organizations like the Red Cross or the YMCA for any that have taught babysitting courses, and see if they can give her name to potential sitters. She has options that do not include abusing you. Please get yourself into some therapy. Learning to make healthy boundaries is incredibly difficult when you have no point of reference. You're used to being abused, so you don't have a good vision for what healthy looks like. A therapist can help you move toward that. Spend some more time with your fiancé. The two of you can make a plan on how to keep your own life separate from your sister's life. Best of luck to you, OP. May you find healing from all of your hurts, and may you enjoy a wonderful, healthy relationship with your fiancé. Hugs if you want them. Yeah, I hope you take all of this advice to heart and do something about it, OP. It's not easy recognizing that you are a doormat and that you've allowed so much to happen, but the past is the past now, and we learn from it and we make better decisions going forward. As Reddit says, polish up that shiny spine and get to work, you know? You can only go on for so long. And now, onto the update 2 days later. So a lot has happened. I'm trying to write concisely. 1. During the first 24 hours after me telling her that ultimatum, I decided not to answer her calls or texts to let her cool down. She called 77 times, sent over 100 texts and voice messages. They're mostly just her calling me a horrible person who abandons her family. 2. I outlined a few rules with my fiancé's help for the future if she comes to her senses and agrees to my terms. I wanted them to be ready, even though it looked like she would never come around. I had conditions like I could watch them up to 3 times in 2 weeks, not more than 4 hours at a time. Meals needed to be provided, no bath time or bedtime, I'm not spending any money. 3. I got messages from an unknown number. Fiancé says that it's an app or something, saying how horrible of a sister I am because now they have to watch their mum die alone without C there to comfort them. Based on the suspicions that I had earlier and the language similarities, I think this was my sister pretending to be her friend. 4. I talked to my supervisor on Friday afternoon and asked for her opinion. I first asked if I was okay to talk about personal stuff, and she was great about it. I don't work with children, and CPS has never been a part of my work, so I wanted to double-check with someone more senior. We made a report together on C. The supervisor said that it's better to do so, especially now that it's escalated, and she might retaliate against me by hurting the boys in some way, as she's obviously not above that. 5. I'm probably going to give her next week to cool off before resuming contact, and depending on what the messages and voice messages say then, I might contact her. If they are as abusive as now, I probably won't respond at all. It makes me unbelievably upset, but I hope the boys will also get a more stable environment without me, as she's using them as pawns with me. 6. Fiancé says hello and wants everyone to know that he's here for me and wants to assure everyone that I'm really not that bad of a doormat, just for C for some reason. And 7. I'm looking into counseling through my work. It's too expensive out of pocket. Thanks for the messages and the shift kicks that I obviously needed. For some reason, I've become blind to my sister's behavior and was only concerned whether I'd lose the boys from my life. Probably will update if and when I resume contact with my sister if people want to know how it goes. In the comments, Function Aggressive says, 77 calls and 100 texts show that there is no way now or in the future to set a boundary that she won't cross. She sounds unhinged, not the asshole. Unhinged and certainly not keeping her eyes on the boys. I pity the kids growing up with that role model. I hope that sister gets some therapy. Stand your ground, OP, and I hope you can get counseling through work. If anything, check with local churches. Some have counseling and other services offered. I hope things work out for you. I understand if you have to go no contact with her though. I genuinely don't see any way that this goes besides OP going no contact with her, because 77 calls and 100 texts and using an app to emotionally blackmail her with this bullshit, that's not someone that's sane. She is crazy, she's off the rocker, she is not on this earth anymore. There's no way that you're going to get anything normal out of her, there's no way she's going to see that she is in the wrong. This is a woman that is unhinged. People around her are not helping her out and not doing her any favors. And to me, this is very fortunately not your circus, not your monkeys. You, OP, will be very much better off without her in your life for quite a long time, I'd imagine. Still not the asshole. Keen to see where this one goes. Our next post is by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "My 68 female mother was given away for adoption. Now her bio siblings, 69 male, 72 male, 65 female, are asking me to care for her bio mother, 96 female. I, 35 female, grew up in the US, was born and raised in Austin, Texas. Shout out Lady Bird Lake. My father, 70 male, is Canadian, and my mother, 68 female, is Greek. Every summer we vacationed in Greece with my maternal grandparents. When I was 25, my parents retired and moved permanently to Greece after my mother inherited a house and a significant amount of money from her mother when she passed away. That's when things took a strange turn. During the last few months of my grandmother's life, my mum went to Greece to take care of her, as she was no longer able to take care of herself. In her final days, my grandmother revealed a shocking secret, that my mum was adopted. She wasn't the biological child of the parents who raised her. Instead, she was the daughter of my grandmother's cousin. Apparently in Greece, decades ago, it was common for struggling families with many children to give a baby to a relative who couldn't have kids. My mother was devastated. She grieved the fact that she never knew her real family and that no one ever told her. After my grandmother passed, she decided to move to Greece to reconnect with a biological family that she never met. She traveled to the region where her biological mother lived and met her for the first time, along with 2 older brothers and a younger sister. Her oldest brother was especially emotional because he vaguely remembered the day they gave my mother away as a baby, but from the start, my mum was hurt that none of them ever tried to find her. Their excuse was that she had moved to the US, and it was difficult to track her down, while her biological mother said that she had made a pact with her cousin, my adoptive grandmother, never to reveal the truth. The entire village had been told that my mum had died as a baby, so no one ever questioned it. For the past 10 years, my parents have lived in Greece, and my mum has built a close relationship with her siblings. However, her relationship with her biological mother has remained distant and formal. She never got over the fact that this woman kept all of her other children but gave her away, likely because she was a girl. At the time, boys were more valued because they worked the fields and contributed to the family's income, whereas girls were seen as a burden. 2 years ago, I was able to move to Greece as well, since the parents who raised my mum had left her a sizable inheritance. It allowed us to live comfortably, and honestly, I preferred the lifestyle here. We live in a beautiful place near the capital, and life is peaceful. Now, here's the issue. My mum's biological mother is now 96 years old and in very poor health. Her biological father passed away decades ago due to political circumstances. Her 2 older brothers, her sister lives abroad, have been taking care of their mother, but they are exhausted. Their wives are complaining, tensions are rising, and at a recent family gathering, they told my mum that she should also help take care of their mother because it is unfair that they are doing it alone. My father was furious when he heard this and told my mother to cut them off entirely. My mother refuses to take care of this woman. She doesn't love her, doesn't feel any emotional connection to her, and can't forgive her for abandoning her. My mum is not close to this woman, and of course, she has no legal claim to any inheritance from the family. However, she has truly enjoyed her relationship with her siblings and their children and doesn't want to lose that. She's feeling pressured though, and she's deeply upset by their demands. When I found out, I was livid. How dare these people ask this of my mother, knowing full well that she was abandoned and that no one even attempted to find her? I feel like they're manipulating her, and she's unable to see how unfair this is. I'm getting married in a month to my fiancé, who is Greek and fully supportive of me, and I'm seriously considering uninviting all of them from the wedding. I want to send a clear message that we don't want contact with them anymore. However, my mother is hesitant. She doesn't want to escalate things, even though she is hurting. I feel like she's not attached to these people as she thinks. She's mourning the idea of the family that she never had, rather than truly loving these people. And I hate seeing her being taken advantage of. I always idealized Greece and the strong bonds of family, but now I see that that's not always the case. I'm so disappointed by all of this. What would you do in this situation? Would you cut them off? Would you disinvite them from the wedding? How could I help my mother navigate this? Edit, I forgot to mention something that I think is important. My mum suggested they find a senior care facility to put her biological mother in. She even offered to pay a quarter of the price. My biological uncles were offended because they said that it was disrespectful to their mother to put her in a nursing home. Another Greek thing. Although they are generally financially comfortable, a quarter for a good structure can mean 400 to 500 euros per person per month, which, by Greek standards, is enough. I think that their idea of help is taking her biological mother home for a few months. In the comments, Mermaid Studio says, "Your mum doesn't owe her anything, and her siblings are being unfair. Cutting them off completely might be extreme if she still values the relationship, but she should set firm boundaries. For the wedding, if their presence would stress you out or your mum out, uninvite them. If you'd rather keep things neutral, that's fine too. Do what feels right for you both." Likely the sons are tired of taking care of mum, and I'm betting their wives are complaining the most. The wives are like, "What is this new daughter doing? She should help." Heaven only knows how much help they think your mum should do. It's a slippery slope with no good outcome. Creating distance and firm boundaries between your mum and new siblings is best. And OP replies, "That's my thoughts exactly. I'm having second thoughts, and surely some comments gave me some perspective, but that's my main thought." And Point Boots replies, "This attitude of theirs goes right back to the same reason that it was your mum who was given away. The boys don't do the care work, the girls do. Domestic work has a long history of being devalued, and it's certainly far too beneath these men, right?" Sarcasm on that last bit if it wasn't obvious. There are definitely different perspectives here. However, their mother is not your grandmother. Perhaps biologically there is a link, but they did not raise nor care for her. To turn around and pressure her to take on a fairly arduous care responsibility is definitely out of line, though they won't see it that way. They'll frame it as her duty, while not being duty-bound in return. My eyebrow raised when I read that it was only the sons in Greece taking care of her. Lol, of course they want to pawn off their work on a woman. Where's this woman's grandkids? That woman had 3 kids that she kept. They all have spouses and kids. Why are they not stepping up? Why is it your mother, that she gave away like a bag of bread, the one who now has to step forward and take care of this woman? And OP replies, "That's another Greek thing, I suppose. My biological uncles won't ask their children for help. Their whole life is dedicated to helping them, so it's not common for grandkids to take elders in and care for them. I avoid all of them, so I'm not sure what their plans are. Their discussion happened only a few days ago, and my mum hasn't responded yet. But me and my dad are furious, and I don't like the idea of helping her in any way." Are the sons doing the work, or is it their wives? It could be that their wives have been doing the majority of the work, and now that they wish to stop, these men are looking for another woman to do women's work. OP replies, "No, they don't do anything, it's their wives. I do feel bad about them because their husbands won't even care what their mother is eating for the day, if she is clean, if she had a short walk, etc. So yeah, I think they are looking for the next woman to take away the responsibility." See, this is why I love dredging down into the comments, because that changes things even more here. They're not even the ones looking after her, it's the wives. Of course the wives are complaining when their husbands are making them look after a non-blood related relative. That honestly sucks for those wives, and those men are assholes for not caring at all what their mother's eating, if she's clean, if she's had a short walk. Those wives are free unpaid labor. Love that. Yeah, the question is if you invite them to the wedding or not. No, don't invite them to the wedding. They've not earned it, they don't deserve it. If these two guys are happy to pawn off the entire responsibility of their mother's care onto their wives, what makes you think that they're going to care about you at all? Sounds like they're getting all of the benefit without any of the downsides. Don't buy into it. Don't fall for the false promises of family. It's not worth it. And now, onto the update, 3 days later. Hey y'all. First of all, thank you so much for all of the responses to my previous post. I decided to share it with my mum and let her read your comments. She was really moved by the similar stories that some of you shared. This led to a deep conversation between us. Over the past few years, my mum has learned a lot about her adoption. Unfortunately, my bio-grandma was not a good person. The wife of one of my bio-uncles, let's call her Maria, sat my mum down a few years ago and told her everything. Turns out, my bio-grandma was a very strict and spiteful woman who treated the people who worked for her horribly. She never wanted daughters and even tried to give away her other daughter, but that adoption fell through, so she kept her. My bio-aunt went through a real tough time growing up, and that's why she moved abroad. Her brothers never supported her the way that they should have, and they even cheated her out of part of her inheritance. Maria is now thinking about leaving her husband since their kids are grown, and she doesn't want to stay married to a man that she knows isn't a good person. As for my mum, she never felt a bond with her bio-mother, but after hearing everything from Maria, she's decided she doesn't want much contact at all. She knows exactly what kind of people her bio-brothers are and never wanted a super close relationship with them. They're not in daily contact anyway. But she does feel attached to her nieces, nephews, and their wives. That's the main reason she hasn't cut ties completely. My mum has decided that she will help financially, but won't take bio-grandma into her home. She's doing it mainly to support her bio-sister, who is under pressure from their brothers to care for their mother. My mum has tried to get closer to her bio-sister over the years, but her sister has kept her distance. She explained that she has deep trauma from growing up with their mother and wants to maintain some emotional space, but she's still happy they met. This past Christmas, my bio-aunt came to Greece and stayed at our house. I wasn't there because I was visiting friends in the Netherlands, but my mum and her sister spent time together and it brought them closer. My aunt told my mum to cut her brothers off completely and even invited her to move to her country. She's made it clear that she wants only a formal relationship with the rest of the family, except for my mum, whom she loves dearly. Side note for the skeptics, my aunt is financially independent and comfortable. She has never asked my mum or anyone else for anything. I had no idea about most of this because my mum didn't want me to see my uncles in a bad light. She still thinks that she'll keep some minimal relationship with them, but she's especially close with a few of her nieces and nephews and doesn't want to lose that. One of my cousins, Maria's son, even confided in my mum that he wants to cut ties with his father. When my bio-uncle asked my mum for help, this cousin, who was only 25, pulled her aside and told her to stay away and not give them anything because they don't deserve it. That really got to me. It showed me that not everyone in this family is selfish or manipulative. I actually have a good relationship with this cousin. He gets along great with my fiancée since they work in the same field. After learning all of this, I met up with him last night and we talked. He's moved out on his own, but still keeps some contact with his dad, mainly because he wants to wait until Maria leaves before cutting ties completely. He told me that his father and uncle inherited a lot of wealth and never really had to work. They started some businesses, but when they struggled, they took large sums of money from my bio-grandma and other relatives. Now they've recovered and live comfortably, but they never paid back what they owe. My cousin is ashamed of his family's actions and doesn't want to be judged for them. He also believes that they're trying to financially exploit my mum, but because he cares about her and really respects my parents, he warned them not to get involved. After everything, my parents and I made a decision. My mum will give one lump sum of money for her bio-mother's care. Whether they put her in a nursing home or hire a caregiver is their problem. She will also have a final talk with her brothers to make it clear that she is not taking care of their mother because that woman was never a mother to her. When Maria manages to get divorced, which my parents want to support her through, we expect the relationship with the brothers to fall apart. My mum is still sad that she never found the ideal family that she imagined, but she feels lucky to have her sister Maria and her nephew, whom she truly loves. As for the wedding, we decided to invite them to avoid unnecessary drama. That's the update for now. I truly appreciate all the comments and support. I feel sorry for those who have gone through similar painful experiences, and I hope that no one has to go through this again. P.S. Someone in the comments, probably a Greek, suggested that my bio-grandpa might have died for political reasons because he was fighting against the Nazis. Unfortunately, it was the exact opposite. My bio-grandparents were right-wing extremists at a time when the left-wing conflict in Greece led to suffering and deaths. A lot of their wealth came from unethical reasons. Lastly, I feel terrible for ever doubting my grandparents, the ones who actually raised my mum. They were amazing, kind, and compassionate people who helped so many others in the US. Everything they had was earned through hard work. I'm so grateful they adopted my mum, and I wish they had also taken in my aunt. Thank you again, everyone. If I have another update, I'll be back. In the comments, Flying Mammoth Man says, "Oh cool, another story where everyone's giving abusers everything they want to avoid drama." OP replies, "Well, if it was me, I would abandon my bio-grandma. After hearing what she did and how much trauma she caused everyone, I don't even care if she dies with dignity or not. But it's not me, it's my mum. I don't like her decision to give money, but at least she understands and knows what is really going on with her bio brothers. I was concerned that she would get hurt, and that's why I posted asking for advice. As long as she knows what to expect and be prepared for shitty behavior, I really don't care if they take some money or not. The amount will be relatively small, around $3,000, with no intention to give more in the future. Our main concern is Maria and her leaving that house peacefully, so I decided to just invite them to my wedding and avoid causing scenes until she manages to leave. Plus, I want my cousins there, and not inviting their dads without further explanation would be a problem. The truth is, I can't wait for things to escalate, as long as everyone is safe, like Maria, and get rid of them. I never really liked them, but now I'm actually disgusted. I don't want them in my life, and that's what I'm going to do." Peach McGuffin asks, "Do you trust the uncles to actually use the money for grandma's care? I feel like they might just pocket it and claim your mum didn't help." OP says, "No, I do not trust them, but neither me nor my mother really care if they will actually help their bio-grandma. My mom has already spoken with Maria and her sister, and they're aware of her next move. She wants to give the money to help those poor wives taking care of their mother-in-law who made their life a living hell. I am so happy my mother knows everything about her bio brothers. That was my concern in the first place." Pepper Pat asks, "Why are you still inviting them to your wedding? How will that avoid drama?" And OP replies, "Well, my wedding is in less than a month. They're already invited. If I take back the invitation, they will for sure become offensive, at the very least. I genuinely want their wives there, after learning the truth about their lives and their opinions on the situation, and my cousins. Some of my cousins are relatively young and still attached to their fathers, so there's a good chance they will be offended for uninviting their fathers. So we decided to keep them invited to avoid all of these things. My mom plans to talk to them about the money, etc. after the wedding. We have a lot to organize until then anyway, but if they pressure more for an answer earlier, there's a good chance they will not attend anyways." Such a messy situation, but, I agree with OP. If it's to avoid that much drama and you're doing your best to disconnect entirely as soon as possible, that makes sense. You don't want to poison the well any more than it's already going to be poisoned. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I respect the approach. We can't always just burn every bridge. We have to support Maria and her getting out of there. I understand completely, OP. Not a situation that I would want to personally be involved in at all. It all sounds way more messy than I could deal with, and Jesus Christ, good luck, OP, because you're gonna need it. Thank you for the story. As always, I hope nothing but the best for you guys. Good luck. Am I the asshole for yelling at my wife when she didn't back me up after our friend almost pushed me into a pool? I, 34 male, have never been a strong swimmer. I can tread water if needed, but I generally avoid swimming when possible. This is something my wife, Anna, 32 female, knows and is always respected. Last weekend, we were at a barbecue at our friends Dave and Sarah's house. They have a nice backyard pool, and most people were planning to swim. I politely declined when everyone started changing into swimwear, saying that I'd just hang out poolside. My wife went swimming with the others, while I enjoyed watching from a safe distance. After about an hour, my friend Dave started insisting that I join them. I kept saying no, explaining that I wasn't comfortable swimming. He laughed it off and said, "Come on, don't be boring." And I continued to refuse, getting increasingly uncomfortable with his pressuring. Things escalated when Dave started approaching me with his mischievous grin, saying, "Sometimes you just need a little push." And he actually grabbed my arm and started pulling me towards the pool. I panicked and pulled away, nearly falling in the process, and I was genuinely frightened and shouted for him to stop. What upset me most was that my wife was right there watching this happen and said nothing. She was laughing along with everyone else like it was just a joke. I felt completely betrayed that she didn't step in when she knows how uncomfortable I am with swimming. After we got home, I confronted her. I'll admit I raised my voice significantly. I said something like, "How could you just stand there while Dave was trying to force me into the pool? You know I hate swimming. You're supposed to have my back." She got defensive and said I was overreacting and that Dave was just having fun. This made me even angrier, and I ended up sleeping on the couch. The next day, she told me I embarrassed her by making a scene and then yelling at her afterward. Now she's saying I should apologize to her and to Dave for ruining the vibe at the party. I don't think I'm wrong for expecting my wife to stand up for me, but maybe I shouldn't have yelled. So, am I the asshole? In the comments, Clive Bixby says, "So if she didn't swim and someone tried to throw her in and you stood there laughing, she should apologize to you and the person trying to throw her in? Sounds right if you switch it up, right? Your wife and Dave are ridiculous little punks. Grown-ass men still playing childish games on their friends, and your wife just going along with it? Yeah, screw that. If it was the other way around, she would be livid with you and Dave. Your wife should have your back. You weren't ruining the vibe, Dave did with his constant pressuring. Order a prostitute to Dave's house and settle things with your wife. This is not serious enough to press charges or get a divorce, no matter what this sub says. That's always the advice of this sub. Besides, the cops would laugh at you and you don't destroy your family because of a little thing like this. Just tell her if she does it again, she's getting thrown in the pool, completely dressed, and she better not say an effing word because it's funny, right? And she's overreacting. I don't know about ordering a prostitute for Dave's house and how that would help settle things with your wife. Excuse me, where did that come from? What did Dave do to have you order a prostitute to his wife? What? Okay, but yeah, no, I am completely on OP's side for this one. And this guy's overreacting. It's not always the advice to press charges and get a divorce. No one's logically gonna say that. Shut up, Heffel. What were you, dropped on your head as a child, Heffel? Calm down. OP was literally just asking, am I overreacting in this situation? Was I right to yell at my wife? Not, should I destroy my family, get a divorce, and file charges against Dave? Jesus. Sorry for the waffling, guys. Am I overreacting for waffling so much? But yeah, no, I am willing to bet money that she is a gigantic hypocrite, and if the shoe were on the other foot, she would be doubling your reaction to the situation right now. Because how dare you, as my husband, not back me up? How dare you let another man manhandle me and throw me into a pool, and then laugh at me and downplay my emotions? That is exactly how I imagine the conversation going, and how dare she turn on OP and laugh at him. He has every right to be yelling at her in this instance. I'm gonna die on that hill. She deserves it. She was an asshole for laughing at him. OP was right in saying that she should have had his back, and she didn't. Defend your partner, guys. It's not that hard. If you love them enough to marry them, you should love them enough to stop them from having their boundaries crossed in a, not a violent way, but a very forceful way here. And no, I'm giving you a pass for yelling at her as well. I mean, you're married to her. You're not doing it in an abusive way. You're showing that your feelings are hurt, that you feel betrayed by her, and you're emotional. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be angry and yell at people when you've been double-crossed. Not overreacting, not the asshole here, OP. I hope the message got across and that you guys can work this out together. And now, onto the update. So it's been a few days since my original post, and I wanted to give an update on the situation with my wife and Dave. First, I want to thank everyone for their comments and insights. I'm sorry that I don't have time to respond to each comment, but I also appreciate the Redditors saying that I'm weak or should start standing up for myself. I'm not gonna lie, maybe there is some truth in that. However, reading the different perspectives helped me reflect on the situation more clearly. My only counterpoint to that is if you do stand up for yourself and make a scene that is kind of like a confrontation between you two and your wife doesn't back you up, I think that makes you look a lot worse than you did in this instance. That's all I'm gonna say. After taking some time to cool down, I decided to have a proper conversation with my wife. We sat down after dinner, and I made sure to approach the topic calmly. I started by apologizing for yelling at her. I explained that while I was hurt by her not stepping in, my reaction wasn't constructive, and I shouldn't have raised my voice. Anna listened and then opened up. She admitted she hadn't realized how genuinely frightened I was in the moment. She thought that I was just being stubborn about swimming and that Dave was trying to lighten the mood. She said she could see now how his actions crossed a line, and she apologized for not supporting me when I needed her. We had a deeper conversation about boundaries and how important it is to back each other up in social situations. She promised to be more attentive to situations that make me uncomfortable, and I promised to communicate my feelings before they escalate to shouting. It was actually a really productive conversation that brought us closer. As for Dave, he called me the other day, and I thought he might be calling to apologize, but that's not what happened. Instead, he asked why I was being so weird about the pool incident and said everyone was just trying to have fun. When I tried explaining how his actions made me feel unsafe, he dismissed it and said that I needed to lighten up and learn to take a joke. I kept my cool and told him firmly that trying to force someone into the water when they've repeatedly said no isn't a joke. It's disrespectful and potentially dangerous. He scoffed and changed the subject to some upcoming basketball game. My wife and I have decided to take a break from hanging out with Dave for a while. Anna completely supports this decision now that she understands how serious this was for me. We're planning to spend more time with friends who respect boundaries instead. I'm relieved that my wife and I are on the same page now, even if Dave still doesn't get it. Sometimes you realize which relationships are worth putting the work into, and which ones might need to be reconsidered. In the comments, Everyday I'm Cuddlin' says, pleased for OP that his wife understood eventually. I think if I were him, I would tell people I can't swim versus I don't want to swim. I can tread water if needed sounds to me like he can't actually swim, but wouldn't immediately die if he fell into the water. The two are not the same. Also, Dave sounds like a prick. How is it lightening the mood to cause an unnecessary argument? Douche. Yeah, the vibe of the party would have definitely been killed if OP nearly drowned or got hurt by Dave's prank. I really dislike the whole push and throw people into the pool thing. Honestly, it doesn't matter if they can swim or not, it's just weird. I had a friend who as a teenager was pushed in the lake. She was wearing a watch her dad had given her shortly before he passed away a few months prior. It was then broken and not working. Not cool at all. That and dunking people, shoving their head under the water. A cousin did that to my son when he was a kid, and my son was sure he was trying to kill him. I wasn't sure that he was wrong either. We left, and I never made him be around that cousin again. I can't stand people who think that shit is funny. I don't get it. How could she not understand how serious it was for him when he starts the first post by telling us she knows this MF can barely swim? Also, the whole group laughing about forcing someone to do something they've explicitly said no to is seriously creeping me out, not gonna lie. Yeah, but you see, it's different when it's men. If a man is forced to do something he doesn't want to, it's funny. Because he can take it, because he's a man. And that's why people laugh in situations like this. Don't you get the joke? Isn't it funny to force guys through social pressure to do things they don't want to do? And this dickhead Dave comes out and says, "Oh, mate, just lighten up. It's just a joke, mate. Come on." Hey, Dave, how about I slap you across the face in front of everyone else? How much of a joke would that be? That'd be really funny, wouldn't it, Dave? How about I beat the shit out of you in front of everyone, Dave? That'd be so funny. Everyone would be laughing at you when I beat the shit out of you. Anyway, that's just a little rant on the situation. We should stop pressuring people to do things they don't want to do. That'd be nice. Like, Dave had all the time in the world to realize that, oh shit, OP's not just joking around here. Wow, he's actually having like a serious physical reaction to this. I should let him go and just like chill out and leave him alone. Anyway, I'm glad that those two had a productive chat. You know, I can see where OP's coming from, that he said he shouldn't have yelled at his wife for that. But I don't know, I feel like there's instances where your boundaries have been so significantly crossed and you've not been supported by those that are supposed to support you. I think it's fair that you have an outburst like that. Obviously, don't do it every time, but if you're so emotionally devastated by something, I think it's fair enough. Because if the shoe was on the other foot and she were to be so emotional as you, I don't think you would say it is unreasonable for her to yell at you. I think we should be comfortable with our partners being vulnerable in front of us and to us. I don't think it's healthy to be scared to bottle up how you really feel about your partner's actions, your partner's words, if that's truly how you feel and how you need to get it off your chest. All in all, good ending to this situation. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts. Our next post is by user PrestigiousDepth365, and it's titled, I, female 24, and my boyfriend, male 25, had a trip planned, and the day before the trip he stops messaging me and then doesn't show up the next day to leave. Can you tell me what to do so I don't lose my mind? Hi, this is my first post because I need people to tell me what to think right now. My boyfriend and I have been dating for a little over 6 months. We've both been really busy with work, and his dad has recently been sick, so we haven't gotten time to see each other as often as these last 5 to 6 weeks. So about a month ago, we decided to plan a vacation during a national holiday that's going on right now. We both are early in our careers and don't make much, but we decided to use a bit of savings and fly to a nearby country to have a beach vacation, stay in some hotels, swim, and the lot. We've both been so excited for this trip. He's planned most of the general stuff, which days and times we should fly. He booked all the hotels. We were going to go back and forth between some islands, and messaging me almost every day this week with weather updates and things we could do. I've been super busy with work, but I cut some time out earlier this week to make a more in-depth schedule so we could make the most out of our vacation and to book some stuff for us to do to ensure that we would have tickets. It was all going perfectly. We were both very clearly excited and had spent a good amount of money. I know he already spent at least $1,000 booking stuff, so he was very invested. Plus, he's the one who initially came up with the plan and invited me. Here's where the story turns, though. Keep in mind, our flight is at 9:10 this morning, the 30th, so we had loose plans to meet near my street and get a taxi at 7:30. Yesterday, the 29th, I have Wi-Fi issues at my apartment, so I don't get a good morning message. When we first started dating, I kind of found these a bit annoying, but I've grown to love them so much, and I know that it means a lot to him that I say good morning back, so I try my best to respond within a few hours. So I go to a coffee shop and see that he hasn't messaged me, which I find a little weird, but I take the opportunity to be the one to say good morning first. Something I very rarely get to do since he works 9 to 5 and I'm remote. And I get to work on my latest project and I don't think too much of it. Then a little later, I sent him the latest ideas for our trip and ask if he's bringing any nicer clothes if we want to do a slightly fancier dinner one night. No response. This man is always on his phone. He responds so fast sometimes that it gives me whiplash, and it's been hours and nothing. But I know he's been at work, and I feel a little crazy for even thinking anything of it. I accidentally leave him for hours sometimes because I'm not as attached to my phone, so it's not a big deal if he doesn't respond quickly, but it is weird for him. A few hours later, I send him a booking confirmation. No response. I finish my work and go home. Then 5:30 rolls around, and I know he should be off work. I message him again and no response. An hour later, I message again because I'm getting worried he isn't messaging back the night before our flight. No response. I call him a couple of times and he doesn't pick up, so by 7 and 7:30, I'm stressing out and I walk over to his apartment, which is a 5-minute walk from mine. His bike is outside his door, but I knock for 20-ish minutes and no response. I'm trying to come up with excuses. Maybe he had to work super late, he's at dinner, his phone is dead or broken. I go home and I just pack and go to sleep. This morning, still nothing. We planned to leave at 7:30, so I get ready as I would have and try to call him a few times. At 7:30, I go out to the street corner where we normally have met before and wait. To get to the airport in time to check in, we have to leave by 8 o'clock at the absolute latest. I message and call him the whole time, and nothing. At 8:01, I head to his apartment again. I'm pounding on the door, calling him. There is nothing, no response. His shoes are there that I can see, his bike outside unmoved from the day before. We have missed our flight, so I request a refund on the site while literally sitting against his door. I miraculously got the refund, by the way, and I cancel any bookings I made, all of which went through. So I'm super sad about missing our vacation, but I want to emphasize that I'm not mad about the money. I was able to get it back. I'm just scared at this point. He's been the perfect boyfriend. He brought flowers to my place when I got sick. He is always on time to pick me up for our dates. He plans things for us. We've never fought. I don't even think I've even seen him annoyed with me, and I am super annoying. The last time I saw him, like the 24th, his last words to me were, "I love you," like 3 times. And then when I left, he messaged that he loved being with me, and then later I got a good night message. Cut to today, and suddenly it's radio silence. Nothing. I'm crying at this point, and accept that he's probably not home or I would have heard him, so I go home and just cry and get pizza and wine, and message him approximately 10 million times, and try to call, and nothing. I haven't met his family yet, so I don't have their contacts. I've met a couple of his friends and workmates in passing, but I didn't think to get any of their numbers. Because why would I? I know the buildings where he works, but not where his office is or the name of the company. It's not my native language, and names are really hard for me to remember, so he might have told me, but I forgot if he did. My point is that I have no way of contacting him. If he's in the hospital or something, no one's going to think to call me. It's the evening of the 30th as I'm typing this. I recently got back from his apartment again, and his bike has not moved. I taped a message to his door to call me, and my contact info for anyone who goes to his apartment in case someone else might know what happened. I can't think of anything else to do, and I'm terrified and crying constantly, thinking the worst. I'm trying to think of what possibly could be happening. He takes his bike everywhere, but it's outside his apartment, unmoved. He spent a lot of money on tickets for this trip, and then didn't show. Where I live, you need your phone to use taxis and metros and such, and there are charging ports and repair shops everywhere, so even if his phone died on the 29th or broke, it'd be fine by now. My best idea is that there was some sort of family emergency, maybe with his dad who was sick, that he had to go early on the 29th to see them, and after he got there he lost his phone and has been super crazy with family stuff that he hasn't had the bandwidth to go get a new phone. He also just has my contact saved and doesn't have my number memorized, as we use WeChat, so he wouldn't be able to contact me on another phone. I've cried more today than in the past year. Please tell me other things I can try or other excuses for why he isn't responding and didn't go on the trip. I'm so scared. When I was at his apartment door tonight, all I could think was, what if he fell and hit his head and he's on the other side of this door dead? But I'm not about to go full crazy and call the cops, though I'm considering it at this point, because the image won't leave my head and something is wrong. I can feel it. Please help me. In the comments, Think Harder, Run Faster says, definitely call the cops. This is very worrying. I would be concerned about his safety and well-being. You are not overreacting. Have them do a wellness check. Why aren't you calling the police? Call them. OP says, okay, thanks. I really didn't know if I was overreacting. Oracle of Atlantis says, if Chinese is not your first language, I'd also look into contacting the embassy for your country. I got the impression you were foreign. They may have resources to help you get translations when contacting the police. I really hope that he's safe and that you're doing as okay as you can be in this situation. You are not overreacting in the slightest. I would be a mess, and so would most of my loved ones if something like this happened. Trust your gut. Please don't prioritize updating Reddit. Your emotions and both of your well-being should matter more. I'm thinking of you guys. OP says, thank you so much. Many people have just been replying, why haven't you gone sooner? But Chinese is very much not my first language, and when I'm tired and upset, I'm even worse. But I was thankfully able to get by. Thanks for the kind words. It's really helping me wind down from the craziness. Yeah, those are some good suggestions, and it seems that all of this is happening in China. Not a good time because it's not a legal system that you are familiar with. And if the worst has happened to him, that makes it even more complicated because how do you communicate that? How do you navigate everything when it's so unfamiliar and so foreign? I do hope that OP took the advice here and there is a good outcome to all of this because, I feel incredibly sad for her. Missing a vacation like that and not knowing what the hell's going on with your boyfriend, I can't imagine. I just can't. That is devastating to be a part of. I very much feel for her. And now, onto the update. He's not dead. Okay, so it's been a crazy night. For everyone asking why I hadn't already gone to the cops, it had only been a day and a half, and I live in a very safe place, so I didn't want to overreact. People have always told me that I blow stuff up, so I'm very cautious about it now. I know I probably should have gone earlier though. Anyway, I left my house and tried to find a police station, but all I could find were traffic violation stations. So I called in, even though I have the speech capabilities of an 11-year-old in Chinese, and told them what was going on. There was a nice woman on the phone, and she was very helpful and patient, and sent over some officers to meet me and help me. They immediately take my case very seriously, but I still have the problem of not really having much info to give them. They asked if I had a picture of his ID, and I was like, no? And so it took them a long time to find his record in the system. They were ready to go with me to do a house check, but then they got an update on the system and asked if I was okay with going with them to the station, and I of course was. So I get there, and they ask me a few more questions like if we were fighting. No, we weren't, etc. Then the officers who I'm talking to get a bit nervous, and one types something into his phone and shows me the translation, and it says, "Your boyfriend was arrested 2 days ago." I felt so many emotions, and I'm still reeling. I barely slept last night, and I've been worried sick and crying all day, and I'm so relieved that he is fine. He's not dead or hurt or sick or in a coma or something. But at the same time, he's arrested? I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, quite frankly. They couldn't tell me why he was arrested because the case isn't closed, but they took down my number and said they would call me. But yeah, I'm so exhausted from this whole ordeal. Since I know people will ask, he's a great guy, a very nice person. He does, however, have very little regard for rules and regulations. He's an asshole driver on his bike and often cuts off cars. Also, he's not a very angry person ever, but I can kinda see him getting in a fight if there's a good reason, at least in his own mind. I know he once got in an altercation with someone early in our relationship for cursing out his mother. But both of those mean you are held in custody until they figure out the case. If it's just a minor traffic violation or a fight, he'll be out in a few days and probably pay a fine. If it's something worse, well then maybe I shouldn't be seeing him anyway. Anyway, thanks for everyone who commented and made me feel like I wasn't overreacting or being a crazy girlfriend. I'll update if I ever find out what he did. And that's not now, we haven't found out yet. Edit/update, the more I think about it, he had been arrested early on Tuesday, so probably not a fight or anything, maybe something he was caught on camera for. And when I say he has little regard for rules, I mean compared to me, it's very typical here. Bikes are illegal in this city, so I'm told, and yet I almost get hit by one daily. Jaywalking is illegal, and yet he and everyone else does it all the time. Also, you can get held in custody for very minor things, which is why I haven't blacklisted him quite yet. Like, once a guy yelled slurs at a group of my friends and called my black friend the N-word, and the police detained him for 3 days for disturbing the peace. Not saying my boyfriend would do that, but you can get detained for parking tickets. In the comments, this post has made me realize how rare it is that anything leaks from China onto the English-speaking internet. And OP says, yeah, I'm originally from America, so this might not be a good thing, but one of my first thoughts when I started to truly spiral was, let's ask Reddit. As you should. Dewal Hamo says, early in our relationship, my husband got pulled over, in a small town in Kansas, for a rolling stop at a stop sign. He had some unpaid parking tickets from years before, so they arrested him. Luckily, he was able to get them cleared up, and he was able to get word to me, and was out in a couple days. I hope you have the same kind of luck with your boyfriend, and it's something that can get cleared up quickly. The timing really sucks though, and I'm sorry you missed your trip. Your boyfriend will really need to make it up to you. It'll probably be alright honestly, but it's hard when someone you care about is going through something like this, and you're left feeling lost and a bit bewildered, and I suspect many of us has felt that way at some point, facing an unexpected crisis. So maybe try to be kind to yourself and just focus on taking things one day at a time, because really, there's not much else you can do right now, is there? And OP says, thanks. Yeah, it's been stressful, but I'm also just glad he's okay. I'm just typing this until I get tired enough to go to sleep at this point. This is a very classic China story. I currently live there myself. I will say that for him to have actually gotten arrested means that what he did was extreme, or at least the cops thought that it was extreme. In general, cops like to solve things at the scene rather than take anyone in. They're like notorious for that. Yeah, as a Chinese person, I agree. It also sounds like she doesn't know her boyfriend that well, so I wouldn't be surprised if the boyfriend did some serious crime. Crime like fraud is very common in China, and the government is currently cracking down on those. I love stories like this because it's not kind of the similar playbook that we see in a lot of instances. Simply because we don't get a lot of stories from China, this is probably one of the only ones that I've read before over the last 6 years from China itself. So I find that incredibly interesting that, it's such a different system to what I'm used to. Is this Hong Kong or something? Why is it illegal to ride bikes? Like, I know jaywalking is a thing, but I've never seen that be enforced. But the police will really come up and mess you up for jaywalking? Really interesting stuff. And what's the bet that he was done for some serious crime, like fraud, if that's the case, if it is very common in China? I don't know, but I'd love to know more about this kind of stuff. That's pretty cool. Pretty weird. Anyway, glad that he's not dead, OP. That is very reassuring. Hopefully, you can stay together with him after learning a bit more about his criminal ways. Let's hope he didn't murder someone, because that would be bad. Crime's bad, guys. Am I the asshole here for being in the delivery room while my sister gave birth? I don't think I am, but my girlfriend thinks otherwise. For context, I'm 27 male, my girlfriend is 26, and my sister is 30. About 2 days ago, my sister called me and told me that her water broke, so I left for work and took her to the hospital. I told my girlfriend, and she met us there. My sister asked me to be in there with her because her husband is deployed, and she didn't want to be in there alone. I obliged and was in there the whole time with her, and she gave birth to a healthy baby girl. My girlfriend thinks that it was weird and incestuous that I was with her while she was in a vulnerable state. I don't think it was, and we've been arguing about it for the past 2 days, and I'm getting tired of it. I think she wanted my sister to ask her instead of me, but we haven't been dating long enough for my sister to feel comfortable while she was in that state. I keep asking her what the real reason she was upset about it is, and she won't tell me. The situation sucks because my sister loves her and wants her to be included in everything. So I don't know where this all came from. I told her she needs therapy and very soon. She's an only child, so I don't think she understands the bond of siblings. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Pretend Green says, "You were not the asshole. Your sister needed you and you were there for her. Giving birth is not sexual. As a mum of 3, if my only options for support during labor were my brother or his girlfriend, I'd choose my brother. I'd like to repeat that giving birth is not sexual, and my husband agrees." What perv even thinks that birth is sexual? Ew. Your girlfriend is gross. Unless you're the father of said baby, there is nothing incestuous about you supporting your sister during childbirth. The fact that your girlfriend thinks it is very concerning. I'll hedge my bet that your next fight will be about your sister breastfeeding because it's inappropriate to do it in the same room as you. If it were me, I'd make one more firm statement. There is nothing sexual about childbirth, and it was not inappropriate for me to support my sister during labor and delivery. If you feel differently, that's something that you need to discuss with a licensed mental health professional because I'm not equipped to process that with you. I think the bigger question is, why did you ask your girlfriend to meet you at the hospital if she was just going to be left alone in the waiting room? OP says, "Didn't tell her to meet us anywhere. I just communicated what was going on. She went up there on her own accord." Excuse me? I can't think of anything more intrusive than inviting yourself along to someone else's childbirth. I know she wasn't in the room, but still, she shouldn't have been there at all. I agree. I think that's very weird of her to just invite herself to the childbirth when, she wasn't invited in the first place. You'd think if OP's sister wanted her there, she would have said something about it. And then on top of that to be like, you know what? This party that I joined without invitation is also weird because, it's kind of incestuous, OP, if you really think about it. What is wrong with you? I'm in complete agreement with everyone else in the comments here. Go see a licensed mental health professional. That is not a normal thing to do. That is not a normal thing to say to someone. You don't just throw out incestuous claims and then think that everyone's going to react normally to that. Honestly, if you do things like that and someone says, "Go get therapy, go get help, you're weird," and you turn around and go, "No, it's not me that's weird, it's everyone else that's weird," maybe reevaluate your life. My advice to the girlfriend, reevaluate your life choices. Because whatever you've been doing up until this point, it's not working out for you. You're messed in the head, woman. Anyway, not the asshole, OP. I think it's completely understandable why you'd be there. And other women who have given birth are backing that up in the comments, saying that this is a very much reasonable situation and that you're not the asshole, and that if they were in your sister's shoes, they would want you there as well. And now, on to the update. So I didn't expect that post to blow up the way that it did. Thank you all for your kind words. I meant to give you all this update sooner, but it's been a busy week because of finals. But my sister and niece is still doing good, and she is recovering well. I can tell that little girl is going to have me wrapped around her finger. I talked to my girlfriend, and she started therapy on Monday. She kept trying to apologize, but the damage was already done. She told me the reason she thought that it was incestuous is because that's just how she was raised. Her parents always told her that birth was intimate, and the only people allowed in the room should be nurses. She also said she was jealous of the relationship my sister and I have, and how we always do things together, and she just thought that it was weird because she wasn't used to seeing that. From a young age, she was so used to seeing the relationship between her dad and his sister be so toxic, she just thought that that was the norm for siblings. She also stated that she's never seen a healthy sibling relationship, so this was the first experience for her. She wanted to see my sister and the baby, but I told her that it would be best to stay away from them until she's been in therapy for a few months. I told her we could also revisit our relationship then, but for right now, we need to take a break and limit contact. In the comments, SugarMama76 says, "Sounds like niece already has a fun uncle that's going to spoil her rotten. Awesome. Your sister will need the support for sure. Glad to hear your girlfriend is getting into therapy. Hopefully it'll help sort things out. Can't imagine if she was having a baby and said you couldn't be there because only nurses allowed, or freaking out because a male doctor, nurse, or tech came in. But you keep doing what's right, and hopefully you'll either be able to come back in a healthy relationship or make a clean break and find someone more compatible. Good luck." Kistner says, "I was the coach for my sister when she had my niece. I haven't met a bunch of other people in that same scenario, so in that respect, it is unusual, but she needed a coach. She was at odds with my mum at the time, so I did it. And I'll say, I didn't look down, but I did get to hold my niece first after the nurse. It was pretty cool. Difficult Duck says, I mean, at the most basic level, it's a good idea to have someone with you in most hospital visits, especially a close loved one or a relative. You never know what could happen, and you need someone to look out for you if an emergency arises. Quotes, because that's just how she was raised. His ex is in her mid-20s. I was raised in a Catholic household. I was taught that bad girls have premarital sex, evil ones have abortions. In high school, I met a girl who, rumor had it, had a lot of sexual partners. She was kind, funny, and sweet. I weighed this against the information that I was raised with. I decided that it's not this or that, black or white. We remained friends, ditto with my bestie when I learned they had an abortion. At her age, if her thinking hasn't broadened at all, that's on her. Therapy sounds like a band-aid so OP would stay. Honestly, couldn't agree with that more. I understand having an upbringing where your parents tied childbirth to intimacy and, at the time, not really questioning that because they are authority figures, cool. But you're in your mid-20s. Have you not lived a full life where you've seen examples of other people in delivery rooms and discourse around it and been like, maybe it's not all about sex. Maybe life is grey. Maybe things are not black and white and my parents don't know everything. You can't just go around blaming your parents for shit they did 10 to 15 years ago and say, they're to blame for my current state. I didn't choose to step outside the box in the last 10 to 15 years. I stayed nice and comfy inside this box, and when external information came to me, I ignored it because that's not my worldview. Like, no, you can't live like that. And it's fair enough that OP is putting some brakes on the relationship, because what other weird views does she have that she has not learnt from, that OP doesn't know about, that are going to cause friction in their relationship and friction in other relationships OP has with other people? And that's not to say the Reddit bullshit of like, oh my god, break up with them, divorce, they're a problem. It's like, can you trust this person to change? They've not changed their opinion on intimacy in the delivery room in the last 10 to 15 years, which would be normal. How much genuine change are they actually capable of? And are you wasting your time staying with them when another issue that could be closer to home could blow up the relationship? Would you stay? Or would you, take your chance with someone that's not going to blow up the relationship? I don't know. That's how I feel this has boiled down to. I might be wrong. That's just my instinct on this. I think OP's not an asshole for calling off the relationship for some time and seeing if she is capable of change. I think that's a very smart thing for him to have done. But I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments below.